Hey y'all, and welcome to my new series. I'm Taja. I go by Big Taj if you don't know me. I am starting this new series where I take you guys along on my journey of self discovery. This year, my perfection year, meaning the house that is ruling my year, is actually the ninth house. And the ninth house is about higher intelligence, philosophy, law. It's about research. So the energy that supports me this year, it really is geared around what this series is going to be. So it feels very, very connected. It feels very, very aligned. So, I talk about a lot of unconventional things on my podcast. I talk about a lot of unconventional things on my TikTok, a lot of esoteric knowledge. And if you don't know, eso just means hidden, exo means known. And there was a lot of knowledge that was taken away from us because we were not at a high enough consciousness level to be able to receive it. And now that we're entering into the age of Aquarius, where people are searching for the truth. People just want to be told the truth.
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
So they can learn how to navigate, so they can make conscious decisions, and so on and so forth. I thought this series would be a really great thing because I myself, this whole year, is surrounded around research. It's about religion. It's about philosophy, which there's always been a battle between science and religion, which is philosophy and religion. Philosophy contains logic, ethics, and physics, and then religion is churches and corporations. Okay, so law, doctrines, things like that. I am well versed in all of that. But what my goal is this year is to dig deeper. And one of the ways that I'm going to do that is try to prove to myself the things that I know that are true from reading the Book of Wisdom, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but there's a book, this book called the Book of Wisdom, and it was written by Harry B. Joseph. And there's a lot of claims that he makes in this book that make a lot of sense. A lot of exposing, the stories in the Bibles for being metaphors and allegories, and a lot of symbology that I feel like we don't understand. Which is geometry, gematria, sciences. They're actual sciences. Astrology is another science that is an ancient science, one of the oldest sciences that I feel like we don't really understand because with the rise of Christianity, Constantine played a huge part in this, but with the rise of Christianity, things were shifted around to serve an agenda. And what I want us to help us do is to unpack that agenda. So I think the Book of Wisdom is a great place to start because it does just that. Also, the Hearth Book, that's by Be Divine by Divine. He's on TikTok. He often works with Embodiment Celestial, but he actually got his information from Santos Bonacci. Santos Bonacci is someone who's been studying for over 30 years about syncretism. And syncretism is connecting the dots between religion and philosophy. Connecting the dots between science and everything that we know. He's literally looking for the patterns. Now, one of my gifts is noticing the patterns, right? So Santos Bonacci actually studied Manly P. Hall. He is a very known esoteric philosopher. And he also studied this guy named, I think his name is like Boyd. I forgot what his first name is. It's Boyd Kuhn or something like that is his name. So we're going to look into him as well. And he also studied ancient philosopher Ptolemy. So a lot of them have been saying this since AC. Okay, this is not new knowledge. A lot of this information can be traced back to ancient Egypt, which is interesting because ancient Egypt, when ancient Egypt was around, they were in the golden age, and we just entered into the golden age. So a lot of the knowledge that they knew, we're trying to bring that stuff back to light. Okay, so the first thing that I want us to do is go through this Book of Wisdom because the Book of Wisdom makes a lot of claims. And then we're going to go on a journey where we search and look for the answers where we can find them, where the people who speak about this are, and to just gain clarity because I think we have gotten half of the picture. And we get a lot of half truths. And when you don't have the right information, you cannot use your emotions to understand that and then do something different, meaning make conscious decisions. And the Holy Trinity, the whole purpose of life is to learn, grow, and evolve. And you do that by receiving information through your 5 physical senses, which is sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, right? You receive information. extrasensory information from those things. You synthesize that information using your emotions, which are meant to just provide depth to your experience. They're meant to just tell you how you feel about the information that you receive, right? Your emotions come from your soul. Your soul is who you are at your fucking core. You should never go against what your emotions are telling you. Instead, seek to understand them so you can figure out if you agree or why you feel uncomfortable with a situation, because sometimes we have an emotional reaction because we've been conditioned to believe the opposite of what it is that we're hearing. Okay. And sometimes that makes us want to reject it because it's uncomfortable. It means we have to step out into the unknown. It means we have to figure out how to exist in a different manner. And that is very difficult, right? So we need to be able to understand our emotions because they're going to tell us how we feel, or they're going to point out our conditioning that needs to be unpacked. Okay. And then once we know the knowledge, right, and we have the understanding using our emotions, right, the only thing left is wisdom. It's the application of those two, which is every time you get up, your actions need to align with what you know and how you feel about what you know. Okay. That is the Holy Trinity: mind, body, soul. Okay. Your mind, your spirit, the Father is knowledge. Okay. Knowledge is the key to all of this. That's why this year feels so fucking aligned, right? Knowledge is the key to all of this. And then your emotions, your soul, the mother, right? And then the son, it's always a male son because our physical body is the masculine part of us, the physicality. The vehicle is a physical being, right? So our spirit, our consciousness cannot exist on its own in this reality. It needs a vehicle to go into. And based on what level of consciousness your consciousness is at, it will determine your vehicle. Okay. There is a consciousness inside this mic. There is a consciousness inside that couch. There's a consciousness inside of that wall. Okay. The lowest level of consciousness is mineral. And then we go plants. Then we go animal. Then we go human. At the fourth level, the heart level, that is us. Right. And all of those have chemical bodies. Right. But when you get up to this heart space, which is Christ consciousness, at your heart space is Christ consciousness. Okay. When you get up to that level, now you enter into more of a light body. And some of us don't realize that we have had astral or light body activations, right? And because we have these light body activations, some of us are able to take in light from the sun and synthesize it as food. That's why it's important for us to fast, because it helps the crown chakra, right? Your light body. I know this is going to be a lot of information. I know this is going to be a lot to digest. I know I'm going to get some sort of backlash for, from some people who are either stuck in their conditioning, or, this information makes them feel uncomfortable. That is okay. I'm just asking that the people who are curious about this information, that you just listen with an open mind, with an open heart, and you go and do the research yourself, because I'm going to point us in the direction of where to find this stuff. This is all stuff that you can find. I'm even thinking about doing a Patreon where I actually provide the books for you guys, just because I have a subscription to Scribd, which is a wonderful site. I've had it for about 5 years. It's about $20 a month, and any book that I'm looking for, hidden or known, is there. Okay. So I can actually download the books and provide them for the people who want to read them. So if y'all want that, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely consider that. Okay. It will have to be behind a paywall, just because this information is supposed to be hidden for a reason. I don't want to leave myself open or vulnerable to attacks, which something I've experienced in the past. Okay. So let me know if y'all want that or not. But I think the Book of Wisdom is a really great starting point for us to start this journey. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you guys so that you can see the book yourself. Okay. And we're going to go through it. Now, the Book of Wisdom is very, very similar to the Hearth Book, which is explaining the same information. And there's a lot of different resources on this out there, but it is, again, hidden knowledge, esoteric knowledge. So for some people, this is going to be your first time hearing it. Just go at your own pace. If you're not ready for this, it is okay to go away and come back. All right. So I'm going to start off with going through the Book of Wisdom. I'm not going to give as much commentary when I go through this book, because I have already started doing the studying a long time ago, but I feel like I need to dive deeper, and that's why I'm doing this and I'm bringing you guys along. But for the people who have not heard this before, I want you to be able to just hear the information without all this extra shit, because I'm really trying to learn when to speak and when not to speak. Okay, so we're going to start with the Book of Wisdom. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you guys can see it yourself. Make it big on your screen, so that we can go through it together. And it's about 31 pages. Actually, I would say probably about like 28 or 27 pages. So we'll go through this today. And then next episode, I'm going to read the book, right? And whatever book I decide to read, I'm going to come back and give you guys what I've found so far. And then I'll tell you what pages everything is on, and I'll direct you to where you can find the book and stuff like that. Okay. So let me share my screen. So this is the Book of Wisdom. If you're looking for the creator of this book, this is all of his social media. His social media is Revival of Wisdom. It's on TikTok. It's on YouTube. He's on Instagram. Another great person to look into is Santos Bonacci, Manly P. Hall, Embodiment Celestial, Be Divine, By Divine, I think is his name. He's also another good resource. They are all on YouTube, but also all on TikTok. So this is the first page, and it talks about a lot of things. Now, y'all, just listen. Now, light is the first thing that it talks about, because the universe is literally made out of light. If you want to know how the universe was created, I have a podcast called Becoming No One. If you click on my YouTube page and you go to podcast, go to season 2, stanza 1 through 7, which is the end of the season, talks about the evolutionary process of everything. This is what the Christians call the 7 days of creation. It's not literally 7 days, but it'll explain to you and help you to understand what evolutionary process everything goes through and what levels of consciousness they need to transcend through. Okay. So if you want to understand how the universe was created by light, go to my podcast. Okay. All right. So let's start with light. Now, Genesis 1:3 says, "Let there be light." Now they are saying we live inside of a light wave universe where all things are created out of light. Low vibrating light turns into matter. High vibrating matter turns back into light. Okay. So we have matter and we have spirit, right? And they meet on this plane of inertia where they're balanced together. Okay. Low vibrating light is going to materialize. Okay. Think about the Tasmanian devil. When he is standing, he is material. However, when he speeds up his frequency, he turns into a tornado and he's able to move through time and space faster.
That's the boy, Tezzy.
He is becoming more pure light, pure energy. Okay. Now, light is a type of energy. That's why they say everything is energy, because everything is light. Okay. Now, Universal One by Walter Russell, God is a thinking mind. The substance or body of God is light, meaning that light is God. Light is the physical manifestation of love, which is God energy. Okay. So the one universal substance, a thinking substance, meaning it's conscious, comprehensive, indescribable, and possessed of principles which are familiar to man through man's observations of the one universal substance in created things. Okay. The substance of all created things is light. The one substance of thinking mind is all that exists. Mind is expressed in light. Now you might ask yourself, why is mind expressed in light important? It's very important because the universe is mental. Again, my podcast season 2, Hermetic principles are talked about in the beginning of the season. Okay. The Hermetic principles, the very first Hermetic principle says that the universe is mental. We are living in the mind of God. Okay. Meaning that everything starts with your mentality. Everything starts with a thought, and then it is made manifest into this reality. First through spirit, then through the material world. Okay. What happens in spirit happens in the physical world. Okay. What happens in the mind happens in the physical world. Okay. So mind is expressed through light. Spirit is expressed through light. Okay. So we're basically sending light codes to each other, and the light enters in through our eyes or any of our physical senses, and we synthesize that information and an image is projected. Okay. So we are called human. Okay. But it's not human how it's spelled. It's human as in like a hue of color. Okay. Because we hold a frequency, which we know we hold a frequency. A frequency is a color, a hue. Okay. So which best describes a hue? The attribute of colors that permits them to be classed as red, yellow, green, blue, or intermediate between any contiguous pairs of these colors. Okay, so like the colors of the rainbow, the designation between them. Okay, so as a human, which is something y'all have heard Rashad Jamal say before, it's something that y'all have heard Embodiment Celestial say before, right? As a human, we are an attribute of a color that permits them to be classed that specific color. Each individual is the mind, not the physical body, meaning that when this physical body dies, this physical body is temporary. However, we are infinite because we have a spirit inside of us, which is our consciousness, which is the mind. Okay. Without the mind, the physical body / world would cease to exist. The mind is spirit. The mind is the intellect that manipulates the physical body and the world around us. The mind is like a frequency tuner, tuning itself into different frequencies. The mind exists within the mental plane, which is shared between all of the minds of the universe. Okay. Understand that you are three. The Holy Trinity is pointing out the triplicity that happens among us. Okay. So we are mind, body, soul. We are mental, spiritual, physical. Okay. So we've only ever been taught about the physical side of us, which is a half truth. We need to know about the rest, which is why I'm doing this. Okay. So the mind is like a frequency tuner, tuning into different frequencies. The mind exists within the mental plane, which is shared between all of the minds of the universe. Thoughts are not created by the individual. They are received based on what frequency our mind is set to. If we set our mind to a specific topic, like generating wealth, for example, we tune into that frequency in the mental plane and we receive thoughts on how to generate wealth. Okay. Our mind is generally operating off of one specific frequency based upon our daily thinking patterns. Every frequency is a color. Therefore, our mind is manifesting color within the astral plane based upon what frequency our mind is generally operating off. If we are carrying hate in our mind, we will generate a reddish color because red is the lowest vibration. If you look at the rainbow, right? Roy G. Biv, from the bottom up, Roy G. Biv, red is at the bottom. Red is the lowest frequency. That's why we see a lot of fast food restaurants using the color red. Okay. Red's the lowest frequency. This is why the word human means an attribute of a color. We should aim to become violet, the highest vibrational color within the light spectrum, which is also the color of your crown chakra, which is your higher connection. Okay. We are light beings manifested into the physical form. Okay. So light is really, really important in the concept of us understanding what we are, how we operate, how we function. Okay. Now it says you do not see into reality. Okay. Now this here is a picture of your visual field. Okay. So you see, this is your brain. This is where we receive information through the eyes. This light entering your retina, your visual field, reflects an image off the back of your brain. Okay. That actually looks just like the sigil of Lucifer. Now, I talked about Lucifer in my podcast before. Lucifer is the light bearer. Okay. Lucy in Latin means light. Lucifer was supposedly the first archangel that manifested from light after a period of rest. Okay. So we go through these rest cycles in the universe where we are at rest for 7 eternities, and then we are active during 7 eternities. When we're active, that's the state of living. That's the state we're in right now. Okay. But once we end this activity period, we go all back to the all. We go back to heaven, the kingdom of heaven. We go back to being one consciousness. And Lucifer is supposedly the first beam of light that comes out of that rest period. Okay. They also refer to him as Lux. Now, Christianity demonized that word and said it was equivalent to Satan, because then Lucifer would be older than the first son of God, which is supposedly supposed to be Jesus, right? So it goes against the propaganda. Okay. So just listen to understand. I'm not saying that you should be worshiping Lucifer. Okay. I'm just trying to provide you context on what this is saying. Okay. So This sigil of Lucifer is showing you the visual field of your eyes. That's literally what it looks like. You can see it in the Egyptians used to, how they have that staff and that other thing that they cross. We see a lot of tombs or caskets from Egypt that actually have this representation in it, okay? Now, we do not see into the external world. Light waves enter the retina, and then the image we see is produced in the visual cortex located at the back of the brain. The visual cortex is the primary cortical region of the brain that receives, integrates, and processes visual information relayed from the retinas. The ancient Kemet, Egypt, had a deep understanding of the function of reality in the brain. This is why it is reflected in their sculptures as shown above. Okay, please understand that we did not come from a civilization of cavemen. Okay, they like to tell us that we came from an unadvanced civilization. They like to wipe history like the entire age of Aries that came before the age of Pisces, which is what we just came out of, because they don't want us to know how advanced we were, because we fell in consciousness and now we are man. And then we're supposed to go back up the ladder right now. We're in this path of going up. That's what the golden age is. It's when you enter into the cycle of moving back up in ascension, learning the truth, seeing through the illusion and things like that. And that is what they're trying to stop right now. So the ancient Egyptians knew this information 12,000 years ago. What happened to it? Yeah, exactly. So let's continue on. Next, the word element. Element is important because there are 5 platonic solids, 5 platonic elements, okay, that literally make up everything. Now, element can be broken down to El and Ment. El means God, okay, Elohim. El means God. Ment means mind. So element means God, mind, okay? The element only exists within the mind. Humans are God-made flesh. We are the God in separate bodies. God is mind, and all things exist in the universal mind. God is thinking all things into existence, okay? Now, what's crazy is that with our physical senses, we can only see the electromagnetic spectrum, only about 0.0035% of that. Do y'all understand how fucking insane that is? The rainbow is only 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum, which shows how restricted and limited we are in these temporary bodies, right? Because when we enter into the manifested universe, we are restricted, we are limited, we are limited by our physicality, right? This is so much proof of it. Now, the lower end of this electromagnetic spectrum is like lower chakras, and this is going to be infrared light, this is going to be microwaves, this is going to be radio waves, okay? The middle is going to be the visible spectrum that we can see, Roy G. Biv, and then the higher ones are associated with the higher chakras are going to be ultraviolet light, gamma rays, and X-rays. The difference is that these lower vibrating light that we cannot see, the difference between them is that they're longer, right? They move slower, they're vibrating lower, whereas ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays vibrate higher. So the wavelength of them are closer together, okay? So we only see about 0.0035% of the light that we're supposed to see. So it's really important for us to get in this higher level of consciousness so that we can gain access to a bigger percentage of our brain, okay? Now, next it goes on to talk about Christ oil. And basically what happens every single month when your moon enters into your sun sign, an oil is released from your brain. That oil goes and sits down at your sacral for 3 days, right? And if you have done right by yourself and you've retained from having sex, you keep an alkaline diet, haven't consumed any acidic foods or fluids, no consuming alcohol, you'll be able to use your Kundalini energy to raise this energy after 3 days, this oil back up to your brain, okay? Which leads to higher levels of consciousness. So when they're talking about Santa Claus coming down the chimney, that's what they're talking about. Like, there's a lot of stories in fables, stories, myths that have been presented to us that are talking about this process, okay? So we're going to dive into this, okay? So the Christ oil. When the moon enters your sun sign, your birth zodiac sign, a psychophysical oil is released from the brain down to the spine to the sacrum bone. This sacred fluid must be cared for and not destroyed by acidic food and liquids. Our sexual energy / fluids must be retained if we wish to raise this psychophysical oil back to our brain or heaven. By opening our chakras, preserving our sexual energy, and maintaining the Christ oil, we can use the power behind the sexual energy, which is our Kundalini energy, to raise it up from the base of our spine back to the crown chakra in the brain. Okay. Now, usually when you have a release, when you're having intercourse, that is most of the time the only time that people are able to feel how powerful this Kundalini energy is. However, that can happen without you ever having intercourse, okay? Which is something that a lot of people don't know. Which we'll talk about white tantric and black tantric sexual energy, which is produced later on, okay? So by awakening the 7 chakras and raising the Kundalini to the crown chakra, new energy pathways open up within the brain, which feels like your head becomes hollow on the inside. The brain undergoes a remodeling process, expanding its capacity from roughly 10% of usage to the complete 100%. Dormant areas of the brain are unlocked, signaling new ways of brain functioning and experiencing the world. The Kundalini energy over time becomes a self-sustaining energy circuit fueled by food and water that grows and gets stronger. Okay. So the oil process, this is how it works. 1, the claustrum or Santa Claus produces the psychophysical fluid, which then goes to the pineal and pituitary gland. The pineal gland electrically charges the fluid, which is male, Joseph. The pituitary gland magnetically charges the fluid, which is female, Mary. Then the fluid will travel down the 2 nerves, the ida, which is connected to the pituitary gland, and then the pingala, which is connected to the pineal gland. The oil then rests for 2 to 3 days on the sacrum bone, which is the solar plexus. If the oil is saved and not destroyed, the oil will activate the Kundalini energy, which will turn the oil into a gas and rise back up the 33 vertebrae to the medulla oblongata. Okay. Jacob's ladder, 33 vertebrae. Keep that in mind. This will then pass to the pineal gland and then to the cerebellum and regenerate all the cells in the body. This process is symbolized as being born again. Okay. Christ dies. He rises again in 3 days. Okay. They're talking about this Christ oil. Now, how do you raise the oil? Again, retaining your sexual fluid, consuming an alkaline diet, meaning whole foods and fruits and vegetables, no consumption of acidic food and fluids, which is a lot of what we're being fed. And the reason why a lot of us have mucus in our body, which is what Dr. CB talked about and died for. Yeah, his son is now in jail serving 50 years for trying to push out that same information to us. Yeah, it's important that you have an alkaline diet, okay? No consumption of alcohol, Kundalini meditations, balancing of your chakras, keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and proper breathing, okay? Inhaling and expanding, and exhaling, okay? Psalms 137:6 says, my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not consider Jerusalem my highest joy. Okay. Now, claustrum equals Santa Claus. The brain in the Bible is the upper room where Jesus meets the 12 disciples, which are the 12 cranial nerves. The brain in the Bible is the upper room where Jesus meets the 12 disciples, the 12 cranial nerves, the Holy Land, the land flowing with milk and honey, which is the oil that's released from the pituitary and pineal gland. Promised land of Israel, El are all words for the sun, all words for God. Milk is the pituitary gland. Honey is the pineal gland. Christos in Greek means oil. Then it became Christ. Corinthians 13:5 says, do you know that Jesus Christ is within you? Okay, it's talking about this Christ oil. Now, the ida, or the feminine channel, is connected to the pituitary gland. The pingala, the masculine channel, is connected to the pineal gland. Okay. And this is what it looks like, okay? The medical symbol actually literally is the pingala and the ida going around each other like this, okay? So they know this information. They're just not telling us this information, okay? So Jesus, the oil, is in Nazareth, the head, with Joseph and Mary, the pineal and pituitary gland, and King Herod wants to kill him. Jesus, the oil, goes down the river Jordan, the spine, to Bethlehem next to the Dead Sea, the sacrum bone. Joseph and Mary, pineal and pituitary gland, are waiting for Jesus, the oil, to return. The process of the oil coming down from the head symbolizes Jesus coming down from heaven into the physical form. Jesus dying for 3 days and then being resurrected to be crucified at 33 is a metaphorical story about the Christ oil process within the body, which activates 100% of the brain. The story of Jesus is metaphorical for the journey of the sacred oil the brain produces. The oil coming down from the brain is God descending from heaven to earth. Jesus dying for 3 days in the cave is symbolic of the sacral fluid staying in the sacrum bone at the base of the spine, the cave, for some time. Then once the oil is resurrected, meaning activated, the kundalini, to raise the oil back up the spine, it travels past all of the 33 vertebrae on the back of the spine and crosses the vagus nerve. The sacred oil crossing the vagus nerve is Jesus being crucified at 33 because there are 33 vertebrae on the back of the spine. The death of Jesus symbolized being born again and turning spirit into matter. Okay. So it's all about science. All of it is about science. Now, they say one thing about the Bible is an amazing tool. And I truly believe this for the wise, for people who can see through the illusions, for people who can recognize the metaphors and process them. However, it enslaves fools. It enslaves people who are ignorant. And because the powers that be know that it does this, they give it to us without giving us context. And not only that, they tried to keep us ignorant, put somebody on a stage to try to interpret it for us so that they can ensure that we wouldn't be able to see through the illusions, right? And then when you think about those moments when you're a kid, right, and you're in church and you're like, well, this doesn't make sense, and you're questioning, you're asking, and they're like, stay in a child's place. They don't want you to know this information because the church and corporations are on the religious side of the spectrum, whereas philosophy, physics, which is physics, logic and ethics is on the spiritual side of the spectrum. Okay. They can't have a bunch of free fucking thinkers because who would do their work for them? Right. All right. So let's move on. Jesus was crucified at Golgotha, which translates to the place in the skull. This is Jesus on the cross overlapped on the midbrain. Okay. So this is the middle of your brain. Right? This is the medulla oblongata, the cerebellum, right? And this is what they mean by he was crucified on the cross. The Christ oil passes the 33 vertebrae of the spine and then passes the vagus nerve, which crosses over. Jesus was crucified at 33 because it was the crucifixion of Christ oil passing the 33 vertebrae and crossing the vagus nerve. 33 vertebrae for the 33 years of Christ and Christ oil. Jesus dying at 33 also symbolizes turning matter into spirit when moving the oil past the 33 vertebrae, as he has sacrificed his flesh, nature, personality, and now has manifested his true God self, okay? Reaching higher consciousness, reaching Christ consciousness, reaching God consciousness, okay? So John 3:3 says, unless you are born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God. It is not a coincidence that the verse John 3:3 is talking about being reborn again. You are reborn again when the oil rises back up and passes the 33 vertebrae. Next is Matthew 6:22. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore is thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. Okay. Again, you are made of light. Genesis 32:30 says, Jacob's name the place Peniel, for he said, I have seen God face to face. Peniel is the pineal gland, which is the seat of consciousness, the throne of God. The kingdom of God is within you is the key phrase in Luke 17:21. Okay. These are all passages from the Bible that are telling you this. Okay. Jacob's ladder is also something else. Genesis 28:10-22. Jacob's ladder, the story of Jacob's ladder is about this process. Okay. So Jacob left Beersheba and went to Haran. The sun had already set when he came to a good place to spend the night. He took a rock there and laid his head on it to sleep. Jacob had a dream. He dreamed there was a ladder that was on the ground and reached up into heaven. He saw the angels of God going up and down the ladder. And then Jacob saw the Lord standing by the ladder. He said, I am standing by the ladder. Okay. Jacob symbolizes the oil in this parable. The rock he fell asleep on is the sacrum bone, where the oil falls and stays for some time. He then saw a ladder that reached heaven, which is the spinal cord leading back up to the brain of heaven. And the spinal cord is a stairway to your head or heaven. Okay. Head is heaven. Heel is hell. Freemasons symbolize the spinal cord with a ladder or staircase. Okay. So here are some images of Freemasonry. Okay. Now, your body is your temple. What's interesting is that the triangle is the strongest structure that we have. So that's why we meditate the way that we meditate, pyramids, things like that. Okay. Now let's look at the symbology of Christ oil and where else we can find this. Okay. All right. So the sun and the moon are the two male and female principles that correspond with all things in this creation. The sun is positive, male and electric. The moon is negative, female and magnetic, which we'll talk about that. We'll dive into why they say women are evil, you know, that whole thing. We'll dive into that. The sun and the moon create the sacred fluids within the colostrum in the brain. The two sacred fluids are referred to in the Bible as the milk and honey. The land flowing with milk and honey is the brain. Okay. So take your Lord. And if the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us safely into the land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey, and he will give it to us. That's Numbers 14:8. Lord equals higher self or your inner self, observer Christ, right? Where you go from this place of trying to fix and you separate yourself from your emotions and you stop saying, I am sad, and you say, I am feeling sad. Okay. And understanding that that is a feeling that's supposed to add depth to your experience, right? When you start actually observing the thoughts that come in and you're managing your thoughts and you're realizing that not all of your thoughts belong to you, right? When you step out of fixing and you go into observing, that is what they're talking about. That is you operating in, you manifesting your higher self in the physical form. Okay. Now the milk is the moon or the pituitary gland. The honey is the sun or the pineal gland. Okay. Medical symbols literally have this everywhere. They have a bird or at the top, serpents climbing, two serpents wrapping around each other up a staff. Okay. So the medical industry uses the symbol because when Kundalini energy rises, Chrism oil to the brain, it has healing abilities. It is said that raising the secretion activates all the dormant brain cells in the brain, regulating blood pressure and regenerating the body. Okay. This process is amazing. Okay. So two serpents to symbolize the two Kundalini channels wrapped around the spine. If you don't know the symbology behind serpents, serpents are associated with wisdom. Okay. I know we've been told that serpents are deceptive, but serpents were originally associated with wisdom. Okay. Now the fire at the bottom of the artwork symbolizes Kundalini energy at the fire of the base. Okay. So these are chakras. Activation of the Kundalini energy at the spine base is the force used to push cerebrospinal fluid up the spine to reach the pineal gland. Okay. So we have the tree, we have Adam and Eve, we have the serpent. Okay. That's what these two photos are showing us. All right. Now the tree is the spine. The tree leaves are the brain. The male is Pingala channel, the pineal, sun, electric. The female is idol channel, pituitary, moon, magnetic. The serpent is the Kundalini channel, the Kundalini energy. Okay. Three wise men from the east. Three wise men from the east, the thalamus, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. The latter is the spine. Okay. And you can see this in Masonic art and also in this photo, which is the photo of the three wise men. Okay. The thalamus, the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland. Okay, so John 3:14, just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up. Okay, the snake, the serpent is the Kundalini. Lifting up the serpent is lifting up the Kundalini energy. All right, now Son of Man must be lifted up. Son, which is S-O-N, can also be S-U-N, which can also be S-O-L, which can be soul. Okay. Now, soul of man must be lifted through Kundalini activating the pineal gland. Activation of the pineal gland gives you the ability to leave the body and explore other realities. They're talking about astral projection. This is something that the ancient Egyptians talked about. This is something that the ancient Tibetans talked about. We have several light bodies within us. One of them is our astral body, which is connected to our third eye. Now, you've been told that that is demonic, and you're not supposed to, if that ever happens, you're supposed to ignore it, and it's just a phenomenon and whatever, right? But the problem is that is meant to help you when it comes to passing over, which is a lot what people don't understand. So the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead talks a lot about astral projection and lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is practice for astral projection. But you also need to understand that once you get over to the astral plane, which is I did an episode about this on my podcast first season, there are a lot of beings over there that will take advantage of your ignorance. So you do need to understand what is over there if you want to. I have an episode on my podcast. Again, go to the YouTube channel, go to podcast, season 1, and it's called The Astral Plane. Okay, it's a 2-part episode that dives deep into everything that you can imagine that is on the astral plane if you're interested in learning. Okay. Now, Moses was teaching people to raise their Kundalini energy to activate the pineal gland, which would then give the human out-of-body abilities. Leaving the body gives you access to worlds beyond time and space, okay? There are astral planes you can go to. There are astral realities you can go to. Movies, if you need a place to reference, to watch that talk about this, are going to be Interstellar. Any of the Doctor Stranges are really good movies that talk about this, okay? So the story of Jesus is symbolic of the alchemic process that occurs monthly within the human body. Jesus falls from heaven and incarnates on earth, which is symbolic of the Christ oil traveling down the spine from the brain. Heaven, the sacred oil stays still within the sacrum bone for 3 days, which is Jesus being dead in the cave for 3 days. Once Jesus resurrects, the oil rises up the spine. He gets crucified at 33. The spine contains 33 vertebrae, and once the oil passes all 33 vertebrae and reaches the optic thalamus, which is where it is going to. Okay, so we said the 3 wise men: the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the thalamus. The thalamus is where the oil is rising to. Okay, so it gets crucified on the cross, because the thalamus looks like a cross. The death of Jesus symbolizes turning matter into spirit, as the return of the oil gives humans supernatural abilities like astral travel. Okay, these photos or these hieroglyphics, right? That is what we are seeing here. Okay, birds symbolize the Holy Spirit or the soul. Okay, mind, body, and soul: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Okay, if Hinduism, body, soul, mind, Christianity. Okay, so there's several different religions who have a synchronism when it comes to the Holy Trinity, when it comes to these 3 parts. Okay, so the mind is the serpent because serpents symbolize knowledge. The mind is the intellect that connects the soul to the body. This is why the mind is in the middle. It projects the soul into reality we choose to experience. The soul, Brahma, has multiple faces, symbolizing the soul taking on different bodies. It is dimensional. Okay, we'll talk about the different light bodies in this series as well. Jesus Christ, Jesus equals body, Christ equals Christ consciousness. Okay, Freemasons do not say Jesus Christ, they say Christ Jesus. They do this to say consciousness comes first, Christ over the body. All right. Now, another thing that we talk about a lot is as above, so below, as within, so without. Okay, that actually comes from the Emerald Tablets, and it's a mistranslation. It means the above is of the below and the below is of the above. Okay, so they're interconnected. There is a Hermetic principle that is called the principle of correspondence. Okay, that's what tells us as above, so below. Okay, that's where that comes from. It comes from the Emerald Tablets, which is ancient Egypt. Okay, so Genesis 2:9 says, the tree of life was also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of knowledge of good and evil equals the nervous system. Okay, the tree of knowledge of good and evil is the nervous system because it gives our mind knowledge of good and evil. And what that really means is that when we receive sensory information, The nervous system is what is activated. Okay. And when we're in this material plane, we can experience hell or heaven. We can experience good or bad. We experience everything on a spectrum, right? Based off of where we are focusing our energy. We can have negative experiences and we can have good experiences. And that's why this reality of dualism is really important. That's why we came here to experience this, right? The nervous system helps you to navigate that. Okay. So the mind and the soul come from the eternal bliss, and the mind projects the soul into the dualistic simulation to gain the knowledge of dualism. Okay. That is what we came here to do. We came here to experience the full spectrum of emotions, the full spectrum of sounds, the full spectrum of light, which, once we reach Christ consciousness, we'll be able to do. The nervous system decodes electrical impulses given to it by the external world and reports back to the brain. Our consciousness is pretty much experiencing a program played out by the central nervous system. Okay. Now, the cardinal system is the tree of life, your heart. Okay. Because it provides life to the physical body. Genesis 2:9 says the tree of life was in the midst of the garden. The garden is your body, and the midst is in the middle, which is the heart. The heart is the center of the body's electromagnetic field. Okay. The heart actually generates the electromagnetic field. And at the center of every torus field is magnetism. Now, magnetism pulses and radiates. This is why you have a heartbeat. It is the radiation of magnetism that creates the beating of your heart. The heart is 5,000 times stronger magically than the brain. It is the most magnetic organ within the body. The heart is the place of your emotions. Emotions is the language of the universe. Okay. When your spirit guides are talking to you, they're talking to you based on how you feel. When you get excited and you experience bliss, excitement, intuition, joy, that is them moving you in the direction of your soul's purpose. Those are your soul's callings. But if you're experiencing fear, doubt, and confusion, that is them telling you, hey, we don't like this. We need to set a boundary here so that we never have to experience this again. Okay. You have to get in tune with your emotions. You have to understand them, because that is literally your soul speaking to you. That is literally your spirit guide speaking to you. That is literally your higher self speaking to you. Okay. The magnetic pulse of the heart is what gives life to the body. All things that live have to have a pulse, meaning it has to be vibrating. It's the universal breath of life. We breathe, pulse, blink, sleep, live, and die. All of this is the expression of the one universal breath of life. Okay. So mind, body, and soul are all interconnected. This is the symbol for mind, body, and soul. Earth is the body. The moon is the mind. The sun is the soul. Okay. Our physical body is the body. The mind is our consciousness, and a soul is the electrifying principle within us, which is our emotions, right? Now, the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:10 says, a river flows out of Eden to the water, the garden, and from there divides into 4 rivers. The 4 rivers flowing in the Garden of Eden are the 4 holy fluids in the body, which are blood, silver, Christ oil, semen, and vaginal fluid. Okay. Now, spirit, air, fire and air go together. Okay. They're both masculine when we think about zodiac signs. Fire and air go together. All right. Masculine. Spirit is in the middle, ether. Earth and water go together. Okay. Feminine energy. All right. So you are a star or stir. A and E are interchangeable. Okay. So minister, sister, monster, superstar, master, froster, sinister. You are a quantum photon, a star in a physical body. You are all knowing and directly from the source. In other words, you are God or goddesses expressing the program being ran by the central nervous system. While we are incarnated here, we are divided from source and absent of the knowledge of our true divine nature. Okay. Head is heaven, heel is hell. You can experience them both here. Like you can experience past, present, and future here. How you can experience a wider range of good and bad at the same time. Okay. Everything is happening here in the now. You get to choose what you focus on. And what you focus on is going to determine your frequency. And your frequency is going to determine your thought patterns. And your thought patterns are going to determine your behaviors. Your thought patterns come in, and if you just believe those thought patterns, they get stuck into your subconscious mind. And when they get into your subconscious mind affects the way that you operate throughout your life. That's why there's always subliminal messages. There's always conditioning in the programming that is being pushed out, because they want our masculine principle of the mind to be weak, our willpower to be weak, so that they can surpass it and go straight to the subconscious mind and program into us whatever it is that we need, that needs to be programmed into us, and that serves their purpose. Okay. So please understand that you are a radio. You are receiving signals and frequencies. You're outputting signals and frequencies. Okay. That means that you are programmable, and that is scary. So you have to make sure that you're working on building that masculine principle, that you're managing your thoughts, that you're looking at every thought that comes through and analyzing it and seeing if it resonates or if it doesn't resonate, and you're accepting or denying those. You have about 3 seconds to do that, okay, before it seeps into your subconscious mind. So managing your thoughts is so important, because not all of your thoughts belong to you. You are, especially if you're open in your head energy. I do human design readings. If you guys are not familiar, please go to the link in my bio. If you want help trying to figure out what your energy type is, where you receive energy, where you output energy. I also did an episode on the first season of my podcast as well. All right. So now let's talk about the pineal gland. Now, the pineal gland is a cone-shaped body, 6 millimeters high and 4 millimeters in diameter. The mind inhabits the pineal gland. It's the organ through which the electrical forces of the body play. It's what the universal essence, soul, or consciousness deposited. It is the light of the body that gives life to the whole temple. The pineal gland is the male spiritual organ. The pineal gland opens when the 2 eyes are closed for a period of time, okay? Usually about 7 minutes. The more, depending on where you are in your process, of course. The more spiritual work you do, the more active the pineal gland becomes, okay? The pineal gland is covered in microcrystals. Crystals have the ability to receive and emit frequencies, right? So we're oftentimes told that crystals are evil and you shouldn't deal with crystals and blah, blah, blah. Crystals actually come from the 6th plane. I talk about this in my first season of my podcast, when we talk about the planes of existence. But crystals actually are tools of divination. They are actually part of esoteric knowledge. They're actually a part of Hermeticism, right? This is something that Thoth or Hermes, those are the same people, actually taught about in ancient Egypt, right? We have crystals in the center of our brain, okay? That's what's happening when we take stuff like DMT, right? The crystals in our brain are synthesizing, and our pineal gland is being activated, okay? So the pineal gland has piezoluminescent cells, which are crystalline jagged shards. The retina of the 2 eyes also have these cells. That's why they call the pineal gland the 3rd eye. The pineal gland has them because it takes in light and refracts, and emits light. The pineal gland emits light. This is why we call, or we say, enlightenment. Okay. The pineal gland is the seat of consciousness, also known as the seat of the soul, the throne of God. The pineal gland is an empty chamber that holds the universal essence, which is invisible to the naked eye. Our true self is within the pineal gland, and from this center, we control the physical body, okay? The pineal gland actually controls the bottom, all of the chakras that come underneath it as well, which is something not a lot of people know. So it actually regulates the rest of the chakras. It's like the king, right? Not the crown chakra, but it regulates everything below it. Okay. So the Vatican suppresses the information of the pineal gland. Mystic powers, the Vatican or the Catholic Church, took over Europe and destroyed/stole all the knowledge and libraries containing all ancient texts and information of our true power. They then created and encoded Holy Bible to keep people looking outside of themselves from God. This is actually true. They have 54 miles worth of ancient texts that have not been revealed to us. There's something called the Book of Q that contradicts some things in the Bible, but they haven't released that book to us, right? Because they pick and choose what they want to release to us. That's why stories were also removed out of the Bible, because they only want us to know what they want us to know, okay? They only want us to know what serves their agenda, okay? And the Vatican rules the world, okay? They are in control of the global trust, which means that the global trust is what owns everything. Okay, so the Vatican symbolizes the pineal gland. Okay, that's why they always have a cone shape somewhere. They wear that little thing. There's always a cone somewhere on their staffs, right? The ancient Egyptians knew about the pineal gland, which is why you often see that little bird man with the pine cone. This guy down here, right? Pine cone, hair, third eye, right? This is a sleeping human. The eye of Ra, left brain. This is awakened human. Okay. So Sumerian gods holding pine cone symbolize the pineal gland. Now, Sumerians were the most ancient civilization that we know of, right? This eye of Horus, right? Eye of Ra, eye of Horus. There's opposite of each other. Eye of Horus. This small part right here. Sorry, this small part is smell. This is supposed to represent sight. This is supposed to represent thought. This is supposed to represent hearing. This is supposed to represent taste, and this is supposed to represent touch. So the five senses. Okay. Now, the pineal gland, everything in the body leads back to one source point, which is the center of the brain. The center of the brain is the pineal gland, which is what we refer to as I. When we say I, we are referring to the inner being, observer, the entity that is controlling the body. If we say my body, then it means it is not me. This body is the vehicle of our soul, our entity, to operate within this physical world of time and space. Again, it is a temporary vehicle. Okay, so the throne of God is in the center of the brain. Consciousness is God, and we are all that same spark of consciousness in the center of the brain. Okay, so we have to understand that we are one whole piece of God having a temporary experience on this material plane. Okay, but we are whole. We are a whole piece of God. Okay. So the right hand of God is the right hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere has to do with creativity, intuition, and insight, which is connected to the cerebellum. Okay, the higher brain. Women are more right-brained. Okay, women are more spiritual. Women think with their cerebellum, whereas men are usually using their frontal cortex. Okay, because they're about survival, right? So the Egyptians actually used to wear that headdress to symbolize how sacred the woman is, because they knew that women were good for intuition and discernment in a way that men aren't. Okay. So they actually honored the woman and thought the woman to be sacred. Okay. So he was taken into heaven and he sat at the right hand of God. Mark 16:19. Chronicles 3:10 says, in the most holy place, he made two cherubims by carving, and they overlaid them with gold. The most holy place is the pineal gland, center of the brain. The two cherubims are the two hemispheres of the brain. Okay, so the sword in the lamb symbolizes killing the lower nature of your consciousness and moving up the spine to the higher mind or higher self. Notice the lamb is looking up at the cup with the sun on the top. The cup is your head and neck, and the sun is your consciousness in the center of the brain on the top of your neck. The bird is an air animal that symbolizes the higher nature. This is what we're talking about first. This is where we are now. The bird is an air animal that symbolizes the higher nature of man. The ground animal symbolizes the lower nature of man. The tree stump symbolizes the spine. Okay. This is a Messianic art piece. You see the same thing in a Sumerian art piece as well. Okay. Sumerians, again, are the oldest civilization that we are aware of. Then next comes the Australians. Okay. So let's talk about the Holy Grail. Now, the Holy Grail is the neck and the skull. The reason why the Holy Grail is a cup is because the sun and moon create the holy fluid, Christ oil, and it fills it up every month. Okay. There's a Messianic symbol here with the Holy Grail at the very top, and you see the sun and you see the moon. Exactly what this just said. Okay. So this Messianic art symbolizes the sun and moon creating the milk and honey in the brain. The milk is the fluid created by the moon. The moon is the fluid created by the sun. Okay. The moon is magnetic. The sun is electric. The moon is feminine. The sun is masculine. Okay. Now the pituitary gland, which is milk, moon, female, magnetic, that's associated with Ida. And then the Pingala, which is the pineal, honey, sun, male, electric. Okay. Now we see the Holy Grail here. We can see how that looks like a cup. Okay. Now, Corinthians 6:19-20 says, or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. Glorify God in your body is raising the Christ oil up the spine and looking after the body, meaning like you need an alkaline diet, right? So most philosophers, like Ptolemy, like Plato, they were all vegetarian. They were all, or most of them, vegan. Even if you look at the last Avatar, he was a vegan, right? So taking care of the body, having an alkaline diet really helps you. Abstaining from sex really helps you. I know that's hard to hear from some people, but it just is what it is. We can't control it. Okay. So our goal here is to ascend our vices, and our vices are our physical senses. Our physical senses are what we want to do. However, when you get into spirit is your astral senses, right? And in order for you to obtain them, in order for you to maintain them, you have to do what you should do, right? Based on the knowledge that you know, not live through your vices and be ran by your physical senses. Because if you're ran by your physical senses, you're not making conscious decisions. You're making decisions based off of pleasure, right? So you have to learn to supersede those, okay? And that's when you align with those 7 virtues, okay? So the elite in power have externalized all of the sacred things like the Holy Grail, Temple of Solomon. This is done to keep you from finding out the fact that you are the ultimate of all things. Man is truly created in the image of God, okay? They could not control you if you are within. That's why they need you to focus without, meaning you need external validation, right? You need, which is a job, success, and all of that. You need external things. God is outside of you. So somebody outside of you is going to come save you, right? Whereas how it used to be when people were more spiritual is that everything is within. You don't need anything without, okay? So the church and other religions are teaching the masses the exoteric, meaning external teachings. This is done purposefully to keep the pyramid scheme up and running. Meanwhile, the people in power get taught the esoteric, meaning the internal teachings about the body, consciousness, and the metaphysical aspects of reality. The Bible is written in such a way it will resonate with the level of understanding. You can perceive the Bible physically, historically, and metaphorically, depending on how wide you have expanded your mind. Your reality is your level of realization, okay? One thing I say all the time is that people have a hard time perceiving what they have not experienced yet, okay? Which means that you are not aware of these things. So it's most likely you are going to reject them, okay? You have to expand your consciousness past yourself. You have to expand your consciousness past this world. You have to expand your consciousness past what you have been told. That's why I always keep an open mind. When somebody presents me with new information, I take that into consideration regardless of how I feel or what I know, because I know that everything that we have been taught has been flipped on its head. It's been turned around. It has been tampered with, right? So it's our job to go back and try to learn this stuff ourselves. And that's what I'm trying to do with this new series. I'm trying to give us a starting point of where to go, of what to figure out, right? Because I'm really good at research. I'm really good at noticing patterns, right? So yeah, so boom. Let's go on to the planes of existence. Now, I did a whole episode again on this in my podcast. If you guys want to dig really deep into that, okay? I'll probably be talking about this again just because it's really, really important. All right. Now, there are different levels of reality. They are not separate. They melt into the plane that is above and below, because the above is of the below and the below is of the above. In other words, each plane is a product of the plane that is above. The higher the plane, the more fluid, formless it becomes. The lower the plane, the more material and solid it becomes. Okay, so the lower planes are physical. The higher planes are spirit or light, pure light. Okay, so we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Now, the very low plane, the lowest plane is the physical plane, and it's the world of matter. It is the world governed by the 5 elements. Okay, air, water, fire, earth, ether. Those are the 5 elements. They don't tell you about ether, but ether is very, very important. Okay. Ether is in your hair. Ether is what tells you helps you to sense the environment around you. Okay. Your hair is not dead. Okay. Ether is in your skin, children of the sun. Ether is in your skin and it's in your hair. Okay. It is the world of effects, meaning like everything that happens in this physical world had its cause in the spiritual world. It had its cause in the mental world. It had its cause somewhere else other than this physical world. Okay. So everything we experience and visually see with the two eyes is the effect of the higher planes above. This is where we get the saying as above, so below. You change the higher planes of existence. You change the physical planes, meaning like when you change in spirit, when you change spiritually, you change the physical world that you are living in, okay? Because your cause is somewhere else. This is why magic is indeed real. Magicians and occultists do have methods to have contact with these astral and ethereal entities, which then have the ability to manipulate the physical plane, okay? A lot of people in the higher ups, and I'm just going to say the higher ups, you know exactly who I'm talking about, the elite, the elite, okay? L, sun, L, God, elite, okay? Those people know this, okay? A lot of them are black magic practitioners, okay? A lot of them are doing magic, but telling you that magic is witchcraft. The magic that they doing with the stars, using astrological events. Okay, you can see this in Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you literally go watch the new series that dropped on Netflix when they're fighting the last North Water Kingdom, yeah, that's real. Okay, so they know this information because they are being taught through these Masonic societies or secret societies the esoteric knowledge, but they're just not teaching it to you. Okay, next from physical is etheric. Okay. There are also etheric entities that live amongst us, like goblins, gnomes, and trolls.
Say what?
They are entities that have the ability to materialize or stay in the astral body at their will. They can choose whether to be physical or non-physical. This is where we get the myths of trolls, fairies, gnomes, goblins, the elementals. Think the elementals. They are very secretive beings and do not like to be seen by humans, okay? So they actually have a physical body that looks like ours, except for it's miniature or it's bigger or whatever the case may be. And they can actually materialize at will. They're living in the same plane as us. It's just that we do not see them because they don't want to be seen. The etheric plane is the world of energy, electricity, and magnetism. It is the fifth element, also known as spirit or aether. The ether is a substance that has 1 foot in the physical world and 1 foot in the astral world. Ether is where we get the word either from. Either is connecting two scenarios in language. For example, I either support the Manchester United or Liverpool. The ether is the same thing, connecting two planes together. The word together has the word ether within it. It's joining two planes. Okay. Now the etheric beings again are the gnomes, the fairies, the whatever. Okay. Next we have the lower astral, the middle astral, and the higher astral. Okay. These are considered to be the astral plane. It sits directly above this physical plane. All right. So the astral plane is where thoughts manifest into form. For example, the mental plane is the thought of the chair, and the astral plane is the imagination of that chair. It's basically the world of imagination in mental pictures. Okay. Your imagination is associated with your right brain. Okay. It's associated with creativity. You have to be able to imagine things in order for you to visualize and bring things into this physical reality. That's why people want you to meditate. They're always talking about meditating in order for you to manifest, because you have to be able to visually see it in the spiritual astral realm before it can make manifest here. Okay. It is basically the world of imagination and mental pictures. The screen we see in our mind when we imagine something is the astral plane. We create with our thoughts. This is why thoughts are things. Okay. Thoughts are things. Okay. Thoughts are just important as actions. Okay, so the astral plane is created out of thoughts manifesting, and each thought has a vibrational frequency. This results in generating three main levels to it: high, middle, and lower, depending on the vibrational frequency of the thought. Manifesting will result in the thought form manifesting on the higher, middle, or lower planes. The higher plane will embody high vibrational thoughts like love and joy, and the lower plane will be demonic thoughts like hate, murder, lust. Okay, when we astral project. We are using our mind to project the soul into the astral plane. You will only see and encounter beings that are on the similar frequency as you. If you operate on a low frequency, you will come across daemons and negative entities, artificial entities. I talk about this in the astral plane episode of what these actually are. Daemons, angels, spirits, and jinns are living within the astral plane. They are basically entities that have no physical body. Elementals are spirits of the four elements. For example, there are spirits of fire, water, earth, and air. A lot of these elementals do not want us on the astral plane. Okay. So sometimes what they'll do, since they're able to show up however they want to, is show up as something very scary. And we'll be terrified, or they'll be the things that are holding us down when we're having night terrors. Okay. Those are most likely the elementals. If you're not scared of them, they will literally go away. Okay. But they don't want you there because they don't really like humans. Rightfully fucking so, because we don't respect nature, right? We don't respect the consciousness that is nature. We're literally tearing the fucking earth up, right? And they are made of the earth. Like we are made of the earth. We just don't understand that we're made of the earth. Okay. Next and the highest is the mental plane. Okay. Because the world is mental. The mental plane is the dimension of the mind. The mind is a part of the universal mind. Therefore, the mental plane is shared between all the minds that exist. It is the world of thought. Thoughts are not created. They are received based upon what frequency of your mind is set to. This is why we call it a mind set. Okay. Each thought, topic, and subject is a frequency. And when you set your mind to these topics, you gain the thoughts that are on that similar frequency. The world of thought is completely formless, meaning there is no form for it. It is mostly a fluid plane. Okay. Now, Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci, oh, that's crazy. Leonardo da Vinci is symbolizing as above, so below. Look up because that is the root cause. There is no point in looking down here because the physical plane is world of effects. Whatever you see and experience is the effect of the mind. So look up at the cause. Change your mind, you change your reality. As within, so without. Okay. Messianic symbol, right? This is lower self. This is higher self. Okay. Physical plane, etheric plane, eternal plane. The ethereal plane is in constant rotation with the physical plane through rhyme, through karma, through polarity, and gender. Gender, not in the way that we think of it. Which if you want to learn more about that, the principle of gender is something I'll talk about in the Hermetic Principle episodes on the second season of my podcast. Okay. The circle is never ending. It has no beginning or end. It's eternal. It is the expansive of all things. Astral just means star. Astronomy is astral, star. Space is fake. That's funny. The stars are not physical places. They are portals to the astral plane. The stars are the start of the soul system. Soul system, not solar system, soul system. We are a star wrapped in flesh, fallen angels of light or angles of light. Okay. Mentalism, correspondence, energy, etheric plane. So the two Messianic pillars symbolize the number 11. It is the mirroring of realities within the plane of existence. Whatever you do in the astral plane will manifest into the physical world. It's like a mirror. This is why you're always seeing two pillars in Messianic artwork. Okay. Some of y'all are master number 11s and y'all don't know it. My brother being one of them. I know that this is a lot of information to take in, y'all. I know that if this is your first time hearing it, your mind has probably been blown 10 minutes ago and you might be a little overwhelmed. You might need to pause. You might need to step away. Do that if you need to. Okay. But come back.
Hey, come back.
I'm back.
Because we're not done. Okay. So we're going to start with astral projection and the astral plane and move on to the chakras. Okay. Now, once we get through this book, we're going to spend the rest of our time trying to prove this either right or wrong. I have an open mind about all of this, even though I think I've done quite a bit of research. My surface level is very different than other people's surface level. But I do want to help us to understand this stuff. I do want to bring what the ancients knew back to the forefront. And I'm going to have to read some books. We're going to have to read some books. We're going to have to get active. We're going to have to get in the field. We're going to have to try to understand what all of this means. Okay. So let's talk about astral projection in the astral plane again. In the first season of my podcast, I talked about these in great detail. If you want to learn more about them than what's on this page, please, I give you resources. I give you homework. I tell you how to do it. I tell you what things will help you do it. Go over there. Okay. Now, here's additional info before you astral project. The astral plane is the fourth dimension. It is unseen of what we see. It is where thought forms exist or mental images. It can be seen only by our mind's eye. You will experience beings and entities that match your frequency. So make sure that you are vibrating as high as possible before trying to project. Everything you think of will manifest instantly in the astral plane. Okay. What we have to understand is we live on the physical plane. This is the only plane where we're experiencing time and space being slowed down because we are vibrating at the lowest vibration. Okay. Matter is light that's vibrating at the lowest vibration. All right. So when we try to manifest something on this physical plane, it happens immediately in the spiritual realms and in the mental realms. It's already guaranteed to us. But the problem is that there's a time lapse before we see it in our physical reality because our energy is moving so slow. However, when you're in the spiritual plane, it happens instantaneously. There is no separation between when you think the thought and something happens. That is why sometimes when you're taking these earth teachers like marijuana or mushrooms or DMT, you are able to create your reality at just a blink of an eye. As soon as you think it is there, right?
You serious?
That is the difference between this plane and that plane. Okay. So in this plane, you have to stay focused on whatever your idea is until it manifests, because it will. There's just a time lapse. Okay. But in the astral plane, that does not happen. If you need references for this, The Legend of Korra on Netflix, the second season is the spiritual season. It does a lot of talking about this. Also Avatar: The Last Airbender. I preach that to die. Midnight Gospel is another place to look as well. Okay. Your vision in the astral plane will not be very clear when you first astral project. You have to work on strengthening it. Okay. Now you create daemons. I'm saying daemons because that's really what they call it. The idea we mentally entertain can take form in the fourth dimensional plane by entertaining negative thought forms for long periods of time. The emotional power we give this thought can manifest into a daemon. Every single mental addiction you have is some daemon you created within the astral plane. It grows the more emotion or energy in motion you give it. The word daemon has mon in it, which means moon. Moon is mind. You create daemons with your mind. Okay. So I've talked about this before, our ability to create these artificial entities, right? Because there are two types of energies that can kind of affect us that we would consider to be lower vibrational energy or daemons. The first is, people who have passed over from sudden death, right? People who used to live in a human incarnation. A lot of times they will choose to go to the astral plane, or they will be earthbound, and they will attach themselves to people, put thoughts in their heads, because we don't realize that we take in information sometimes through our head, and we experience clear audience. So to us, it'll sound like a pronounced thought, but it won't be coming from inside the house. It'll be coming from outside the house. Okay. And a lot of us, because we are not taught that not all of our thoughts belong to us, will believe that it's us that is saying it. Okay. So that's why it's important for you to manage your thoughts, right? So you get these people who have passed away from sudden death, who are living in this low vibration when they leave this plane, who don't necessarily want to, leave Earth, so they stay earthbound and they attach themselves to people and they cause chaos in their life. Okay. The second energy is artificial entities. And these are actually created based on a strong intention and a strong emotion. Okay. So, say for instance, I get in an argument with my brother and I'm like, I hate you and I hope you pass away. Right. If I really mean that and I keep having that thought over and over again, I'll actually create this artificial entity. And the more energy that I keep pushing towards this thought process, this artificial entity, we also call them daemons, whatever you want to call it, will actually go and try to attack latch onto him. And once you create this entity, you actually don't have control over what it does. So it's going to try to serve whatever purpose you created it for, whatever emotion is attached to it. It's going to serve that emotion. And what it'll do is kind of go to that person and kind of scan his body. Since it's a being that's on the astral plane, something that you cannot see, it is actually able to either tap into your Akashic records, or it's able to tap into your energy field and figure out what your weaknesses are and your vices are. So if you're a person who drinks a lot, it'll keep bothering you while you're drinking, keep giving you these negative thoughts while you're drinking, right? And the goal is to lower your vibration, but it only lasts for as long as you're thinking about it. Okay. So if you say something out of anger real quick, you might create it and it might last for a couple of hours. But if you constantly keep thinking about it, you can create this artificial entity that will go and try to attack that person. Now, the problem with this is that sometimes if that person is at a higher vibration and they don't have any weaknesses to exploit, that being will then come back and create havoc in your life. Okay. You'll get instant karma. But if you're at a high vibration, then it'll go out and just attack a random person, which really freaking sucks. So we got to be careful about what the words that we speak into existence, because we really are creating energy. But just because this happens on the negative side, this also happens on the positive side. When your mother's prayers actually do work, they can create an artificial entity that protects you, right? If somebody is sick and you're praying for them and you keep praying for them, you create an artificial entity that will go and protect them. So it kind of works both ways. But understand that your mind is powerful, baby. Your mind is so powerful. You are literally creating things in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm. So just be careful with what you do with your mind. Okay. Now, how astral projection works. Your mind is the projector of your soul. Your soul is the experiencer or the observer. When you astral project, you are using your mind to project the soul out of the physical body or the physical world into the astral plane, where there are no limitations of time and space. When you dream, your mind is projecting the soul into another reality while your physical body is resting. Okay. So before I tell you how to practice astral projection from this, understand that lucid dreaming comes first. Lucid dreaming is when you are dreaming and you realize that you are dreaming and you wake up. Okay. Practicing lucid dreaming is safer first than astral projection. Okay. Because a lot of people don't understand the astral plane yet. I would suggest going to listen to my episode on that, read the books that I suggested on that. To help you with that. But lucid dreaming, please do that first before you try to astral project. Another set of books is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Those are really good books as well. Okay. So it says practices for astral projection. Lay down flat with no body parts touching. Rest every single muscle and be still as possible. Close your eyes. Breathe deep in through your nose and slowly out your mouth. Meditate until you have lost all desire and the mind is empty of thought. Then focus your attention on the middle of your brain, your pineal gland. Do this until you start to feel tingling sensation all over the body. The tingling sensation is your energy body or your etheric body being awakened. Now imagine yourself pulling a rope up into the sky. You may feel yourself being lifted out of the body. Do not be scared. Keep doing the exercise until you gain the ability to leave your whole body and discover the astral plane. Now, most of the time you will start to feel scared. The reason why you'll start to feel scared is because your astral body is operated by your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, when that is activated, so is your amygdala. Your amygdala is responsible for fear. So the fear feels very real, but it's not theirs because your amygdala is activated. Just a little tidbit, just so you know. So if you do astral projection successfully and you feel as if you want to enter back into your physical body, all you have to do is think about going back into your body and you will be shot back into your body. Okay. Jesus never walked on water. It is symbolic for leaving the physical body. The water is the ethereal plane, which is the veil between the physical world and the astral world. Jesus was walking on the top of the veil of the ether, which is astral projecting. Now, when Jesus teaches Peter to walk on water, he is teaching him not to be scared or else you will fall back into the water. This is symbolic of when you are astral projecting, when you start to fear, when you're projecting, you will be sucked back into your body. Okay. Again, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the new series that they just put on Netflix. Watch the episode where they go into the spiritual realm and Cole, who is the artificial entity. Cole is one of these daemons. When you'll know what I'm talking about when you watch the episode. It's talking about astral projecting. Okay. And Ko is one of these artificial entities that are trying to exploit people who are on the astral plane. In addition to that, Katara gets scared and she goes into a different vision because she's almost about to wake up. So fear is something that can jump you out of your sleep. If you think about that, when you have a nightmare, you get scared and you start to actually become aware of what's happening in a dream. You're running for your life, you're fighting for your life, right? And you're so scared that you jump up out of the dream. Fear is something that can bring you back. So you have to learn how to manage that as well. Okay. Now, Matthew 14:29 says, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. Okay. So that's astral projection and astral plane. Again, I did an episode. Go watch it if you're interested. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the chakras. I did an episode on this as well. Now, the chakras in Sanskrit means wheel. The chakras are 7 wheels of energy that are part of the electromagnetic field that we call our aura. The chakras are like mini brains controlling all the cells and organs within the section of the body. Okay, every chakra is associated with an adrenal gland and an organ. Okay, so the 7 chakras are the 7 wheels in the Bible. The 7 chakras are a part of the etheric body. As they are 7 seals that bind your soul and spirit to the physical body. The lower chakra, the root chakra, is the most dense, physical, and the highest, the crown chakra, is spirit and formless. We descend from spirit into matter. Now we have to return to our spirit self in the crown chakra. The crown chakra is located just above the head, out of the body, because it is pure spirit. Now, our true God self is hidden behind the 7 chakras, as the 7 chakras can be abused or balanced. When we balance the vices of the 7 chakras, we build a strong mind and a soul connection, which then manifests itself into our eternal or external world. When the mind and body manifests the soul or the higher self's ideas 24/7, we become our true God self. Okay. This is what it means to be enlightened. This is what it means to ascend. This is what it means to live life as your true authentic self. Okay. You're manifesting your higher self into this physical form. Okay. And there are no mental or etheric blockages within our different bodies of consciousness. Okay. So we have multiple bodies of consciousness. All right. So every single chakra is associated with not only an element, but also a planet. Okay. So the bottom chakra, the root chakra, is associated with Earth and it is Saturn ruled. The sacral chakra is water and it's Jupiter ruled. The third chakra, solar plexus, is fire and it's Mars ruled. The sun chakra is air, which is the heart chakra and is ruled by the sun. Leo is associated with the heart chakra as well, because Leo is ruled by the sun. Okay. The air chakra is also spirit, aether. Venus, Mercury, the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra are all associated with spirit. The throat chakra is associated with Venus. That's why Taurus rules the throat. Mercury is associated with the third eye, and the moon is associated with your highest level of consciousness. Okay. Because the moon is the mother, is spirit. Okay. Now, turning spirit into matter is turning gold into lead and lead into gold. Okay. Now, your bottom chakra, the root chakra, is responsible for grounding and survival. It's also responsible for money. The sacral chakra is responsible for sexuality and creativity. It's also responsible for relationships. Your third chakra, solar plexus, is responsible for power and self-love. It's also responsible for managing your thoughts and your emotions, because if you don't learn to manage your thoughts and your emotions, you will never be able to supersede this third chakra. This is where a lot of people get stuck at this third chakra and never enter into their heart space. Your heart space is responsible for love and inner peace, but please understand that grief blocks your heart space. So us just believing that people die and they never come back and we'll never see them again causes a lot of grief and tension on our heart chakra. Also, us being in toxic relationships, us not having self-love, all of that affects our heart chakra. And our heart chakra is actually the portal to higher dimensions. Okay. You have to be able to drop into your heart chakra in order for you to ever experience those high level state of beings. Okay. Your throat chakra is responsible for communication and self-expression. It's also kept safe by making sure you set healthy boundaries, you speak your truth, and you tell people what your needs are. Your third eye is intuition and psychic ability. It helps with our ability to make conscious decisions. And then the crown chakra is spirituality and connection to divine. Okay. Now, when it says 144,000 go to heaven, that is literally all of us. What it's doing is counting up the different petals that are on each chakra. As you count up, you'll get to 144,000. Okay. So 144,000, add first 5 petals. The root has 4, the sacral has 6, the solar has 10, the heart has 12, the throat has 16. So we get 48. The third eye has 2 petals. So 48 times 2 is 96. And then 96 plus 48 equals 144. Okay. The crown chakra has 1,000 petals. Okay. 1,000 times 144 is 144,000. Jehovah's Witnesses believe exactly 144,000 faithful Christians will go to heaven. This is a frequency you need to achieve in order to go from the root to the crown chakra. Okay. From the heel to the head is heaven. Okay. So it doesn't matter how good you are. If you are not a person who is able to feel safe financially, physically, and mentally, right? You're not a person who's able to let go of control and allow things to kind of come and go as they are, to build healthy relationships, to have control of your sexual desires, and you're not a person who's able to manage your thoughts and regulate your emotions, you're never going to make it through the heart space into those higher Christ consciousness. Okay. So it doesn't matter how good you are, you have to learn how to balance your chakras, because your chakras are associated with the 7 densities of consciousness. And they're your path to ascension, just like your zodiac is your path to balancing the 12 zodiacs inside of you, your path to ascension, evolution, enlightenment. Okay. It's the fool's journey in tarot. Now, they are actually 7 vowels, and each vowel corresponds with one of the chakras. When chanting the vowel correctly, it creates a phonetic sound of Om, and Om is known as the sound of creation. And when we say it, we are aligning the 7 creative energies within our etheric body. Each chakra vibrates on a different frequency, and you can listen to these frequencies to help balance each chakra. Okay. Mental plane equals thoughts, astral plane equals imagination, etheric plane equals energy, and physical plane equals matter. So the ether is the 5th element, also known as spirit. It is a substance that has 1 foot in the astral plane and in the physical plane. Ether is the word either because it is on either side. The chakras are on the etheric plane. And when we unlock these centers, we unlock our true spirit form. Okay. Chakras are energy portals to higher dimensions and higher levels of consciousness. Okay. There are 7 main ones, but there are way more than just 7. Okay. From the root chakra up to the crown chakra, I am, I feel, I do, I love, I speak, I see, I know. Affirmations starting with that actually help to develop those. I am, a lot of people use a lot of I am statements when doing affirmations, but that is the lowest energy frequency that you can use. You need to incorporate the other ones as well. How do you know you're passing through the chakras? The root chakra, you will no longer fear and feel stable. Again, it has to do with financial security, physical, mental, and emotional security as well. Okay. Sacral chakra, you will no longer have a lust or desire for sex. A lot of our sacral chakra is affected by what we're exposed to between the ages of 2 and 7, because those are our most developmental years. That's why there's a lot of sexual innuendos and sexual things that happen in children's cartoons, because they are trying to subliminally unbalance this sacral chakra, because it's also responsible for your workforce and life force energy, and also your vitality. Okay. Solar plexus, you'll no longer desire for food. Heart, you no longer hate anything or anyone. Throat, no longer hold yourself back to express yourself. Third eye, you have the ability to read people's energy, intuition, and astral projection. Crown, at one with everything. No negative traits, no ego, no hate, no desire for material things, no attachments to anything. Okay. The root chakra is responsible for grounding, stability, physical needs, security, survival, manifestation in the material world. Sacral chakra is responsible for emotions, relationships, sexuality, self-worth, creativity, and empathy. Solar plexus, personal power, will, ego, metabolism, effectiveness, self-esteem, social identity, and happiness. This is balancing between what you need or what you want and what you should be doing. Heart chakra is love, understanding, trust, hope, openness, compassion, balance, forgiveness. Throat is communication, sound, vibration, self-expression, listening, speaking, writing. Third eye is psychic abilities, channeling, telepathy, travel, vision, connection to higher self. Crown chakra is universal consciousness, all-knowing, cosmic connection, the God source, enlightenment, gateway to other dimensions. I talk about the chakras a lot. I know a lot about the chakras. I suggest that you guys start to dig into that as well. We'll go over this in deeper detail. Again, I'll probably do an all-inclusive episode about this, but just trying to give you the information. Now, the lower three chakras are the lowest states of consciousness where you identify as the physical body, as matter over mind. The mind and body are operating in survival mode, meaning you are doing whatever the body desires. And examples of this is eating whenever your stomach rumbles, releasing sexual fluids whenever you feel like it, etc. And the states of consciousness is manifesting hell. Okay, those are the things that you're manifesting when you're living by sex, money, and power. That's why they're always pushing sex, money, and power onto us. Okay, the higher three chakras are the spiritual chakras. So the higher three chakras are the higher states of consciousness where your mind is no longer manifesting whatever the lower self desires. The mind has become disciplined and carries out more spiritual desires like fasting, meditation, astral projection, energy healing, awakening to the third eye, and saving sexual energy to activate the Kundalini energy. The soul and the mind have gained a strong connection, and the mind is manifesting what the soul wills to do. All right. Deuteronomy 20:17 says, completely destroy them, the Hittites, the Hittite, I don't know what that says, Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded you. God supposedly ordered for the Canaanites, Amorites, and the Hittites to be destroyed, but as we know, that would be murder, which God does not condemn onto any man. Canaanites, Amorites, and Hittites symbolize man's lower nature as they were cannibals and murderers. So this is a symbolic for destroying your lower / animal nature and turning to your higher self and spiritual self. Unbalanced chakras. Overusing or incorrect usage of the energy centers will result in unbalanced chakras, which block the flow of energy within the electromagnetic field of the body. The result in a lower frequency as you are pulling too much energy out of your field. For example, if you are oversexual, you abuse your sacral chakra, which is weakening your energy field. These can actually manifest as diseases as well, because it's dis-ease in the body that you are creating when your chakras are unbalanced. And this dis-ease, as it persists, it actually happens on the etheric plane, which is above the physical plane, right? So it happens there first. So your energy gets off balance first, and then there's a physical manifestation that corresponds with that. Okay. And I did a video on every single chakra and what dis-ease is associated with. Okay. So Baphomet symbology. Baphomet is who Saturn or Satan worshippers consider to be their god. Okay, now Baphomet or the devil has a goat head to symbolize the animal nature of man. The Baphomet is holding the right hand up for the right hand path of ascension and the left hand down for the descension. The Baphomet is not a real entity. It symbolizes an individual's mindset. The Baphomet is both male and female, symbolizing division and inversion of God's creation. God is oneness, meaning he is genderless. Our consciousness is genderless or androgynous, meaning you are a spark of God. God is consciousness. We come from the one and we incarnate into duality to gain the knowledge of good and evil. The crown chakra is the only chakra located outside of the physical body. This is due to it being pure spirit, meaning it is not a part of the dualistic physical world. It is oneness. Okay. So notice how the majority of fast food restaurants symbols are red, orange, or yellow. This is because they understand that 80% of people's minds manifest the desire of the lower three chakras. The minds that operate on their lower frequency will be attracted to the colors of their lower frequency. Plus, the so-called food the restaurant supplies is keeping them stuck in the lower three chakras or survival mode. The word human comes from the word hue, which means an attribute of color. Each of one of us operates within a frequency, and that frequency is the color within the electromagnetic light spectrum. We are an attribute of a specific color based on what our mind is setting our frequency to. This is why we call it a mindset. Your mind sets itself to various frequencies. Okay. Now, Here are the psychological signs of a blocked chakra. The root chakra is overly fearful about security and survival, meaning you have money insecurity, ungrounded, flighty, generally fearful, feeling of not belonging anywhere, in poor health, or overly practical, meaning like you try to control everything, lacking dreams and imagination, habitual, tired, tied down, or difficulty letting go. Okay, you're not able to just go with the flow. Again, you're trying to control everything. Sacral is emotionally cold. People who have Aquarius moons, y'all gotta look at this. Y'all gotta look at this now. Emotionally cold, difficulty changing, difficulty experiencing joy, holds back, hyper emotional, overly sexual, overly confused about physical pleasure, and also experiencing guilt, because guilt comes in with the sacral chakra. Okay. Solar plexus blocks are lack of confidence, difficulty manifesting desires, lack of self-esteem, or misuse of power, dominance, over reliance on willpower, or shame. Okay. Shame actually comes into the solar plexus, not only shaming others, but shaming yourself as well. And also power. People who are in their ego and they're just after power and greed actually are misusing or blocking their solar plexus. Okay. Next is your heart space, and it's going to be loneliness, lack of emotional fulfillment, and difficulty accepting or giving love, lack of compassion, unhealthy relationships, loving too much, love manifesting as a low vibration, a lack of sense of connection to the divine or to nature, unresolved sorrow. Third chakra is going to be inability to communicate ideas, problems with self-expression, expression of your own truth, problems with creativity, or uncontrolled, low value, inconsistent communication, manipulative, deceptive of self or others. Okay. Meaning lying. Okay. Because the throat chakra is about truth. However, the caveat is that everything is experienced on a spectrum. So if we're talking about truth, we're also talking about lies. Okay. So when it's unbalanced, you tend to lie. You tend to not tell the truth. Okay. The third eye blocks is going to be lack of imagination, lack of vision, lack of concentration, blocked or clouded intuition, can't see the bigger picture, or distorted vision, delusion, distorted imagination, misuse of intuition, or overly reliant on logic and intellect. Okay. Because logic actually keeps you stuck into this physical plane, because logic has to do with science. Okay. And science is just the physical part of us, right? But we are also spirit as well, right? Science is trying to figure out something, okay, believing something, whereas spirit is knowing. Okay. Now, your crown chakra blocked would be ungrounded, impractical, indecisive, difficulty with finishing things, no common sense, depressed, alienated, confused, or cut off from spirituality, plagued by a sense of meaninglessness, meaning life has no meaning, delusion, and grandiose, meaning narcissism. Okay. The root chakra, poor body image, feeling stuck, financial issues, disconnected, and insecure. The sacral chakra is going to be low libido, isolation, lack of creativity, fear, anxiety, toxic relationship. The solar plexus is going to be feeling powerless, indecisive, poor digestion, aggressive, and competitive. The heart chakra is going to be loneliness, hard to empathize, guarded heart, holding a grudge or shyness. The throat chakra is going to be timid, talks first, thinks later. This meaning like not thinking about what you're saying, not making conscious decisions. Dishonesty, trouble communicating, can't speak. Your third eye is going to be uncertainty, lack of purpose, narrow-mindedness, feeling lost in life, disconnected from intuition. Narrow-mindedness meaning that you don't consider anybody else's opinion. You're kind of stuck to one way of thinking. Okay. And then crown chakra is dissociation, no spiritual side, aimlessness, too individualistic, and disconnected from earth. Okay. Now, from thought to energy matter. Notice how lust is the lower vibrational energy. This is why lust for sex is pushed upon us by music, the music industry, especially rap music. Anything that is free, you are the product. This is why porn is free, because it wastes your seed, keeping you in the lowest vibrational state of lust. Okay, so this thought of energy matter is actually like the frequency that these certain thought patterns hold. Okay. So lust is at the bottom, pain, fear, guilt, shame, suffering, victimization. You being a victim is slowing your energy down so much. Okay. So you got to learn how to be a survivor, not a victim. Okay. Control, power, willpower. Okay. Then the speed of light, everything else moves above the speed of light. Gratitude, appreciation, joy, love, freedom, bliss, wholeness. Okay. Those are things you should aim to want to feel whenever you are feeling these bottom lower energies. Okay. The good thing about this world that we live in is that it's ruled by certain laws, and we can transcend some of those laws, including this law right here. So anytime that you are feeling lust, pain, or feeling victimized, right, you can go into a meditative state and focus on the opposite energy to bring your energy field back up to a place that you find more desirable. Okay. Now, 7 up is truth in plain sight. Okay. 7 up chakra system. 7 up the chakra system. All right. Page 243, figure 1111 from the book Becoming Supernatural, authored by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, what's crazy is Becoming Supernatural. I read that book years ago. I didn't understand not a damn thing in that book when I first read it, right? Reading it now in today's time, I did not know anything. So I understand how hard this information can be to digest when this is your first time hearing it. So again, listen to this multiple times. Take your time. If it's not in your awareness, it's really hard for you to perceive it. It's really hard for you to understand it. Okay. So start looking into this for yourself if you're struggling with this, because I know I did when I first started. Okay. This was years ago, but this book made no sense to me. Now it makes all the sense in the world. All right. So hand and feet chakras, which we do have chakras in our hands. Okay. We do have chakras in our feet. Now, the 7 chakras are not limited to the spine, but extend their influence to the hands. They manifest in the following associations. Manipura, which is your solar plexus chakra, is your thumb. Okay. And Nahata, which is your heart chakra, is your index finger. Your throat chakra is your middle finger. Your root chakra is your ring finger. Your sacral chakra is your pinky finger, and then your crown is your palm, and then your andra, your third eye, is like your wrist. Okay. So this arrangement results in a harmonious balance of the hand where a ring and a little finger embody feminine qualities, while the thumb and the index finger exude masculine attributes. Additionally, a central axis extends from the wrist point, passing through the center of the palm and reaching up the middle finger, symbolizing the spirit element. This central axis serves as a reconciling force for the contrasting gender principles, meaning it balances out the masculine and the feminine. Hand chakras serve as a vital interface between the physical and energetic dimensions, allowing us to engage with the world on both levels. The finger functions are sensitive receptors, while the palms act as conduits for channeling healing energy. Your dominant hand serves as the source of energy emission, while the non-dominant hand acts as a recipient. Okay. Right hand and left hand people. Okay. People who are left-handed are more right brain, which means they're more spiritual people. That's why they don't do anything to help you in school when you're left-handed. Sometimes when you put your hand right here and you focus your energy in the center, you can feel the energy within your hands. Okay. I suggest y'all trying to do that at home. Close your fingers, hold your hands just like this, like 2 cups, and just imagine a ball being in the center of your hands. You will feel it. Okay. Hand chakras serve as a vital interface, which we talked about. In contrast to the feet, which are associated with the earth's element in the physical body, the hand corresponds to the air element in the realm of the mind, as we are suspended in the air before us. Consequently, the hand chakras wield significant influence over the information that enters our consciousness. Okay. That's why people hold their hands up to the moon, right? When there's a full moon, hold their hands up to the sun when they're trying to sunbathe. Okay, so there exists a network of energy centers known as minor chakras in the feet, as above, so below. These minor chakras play a huge role in facilitating a wide range of energy inflow into the human body and consciousness. Okay, so the foot and its chakras are: the solar plexus is the big toe, the heart is the index toe, the throat is the middle toe, the third eye is the fourth toe, the sacral is the little toe or the pinky toe. The crown is the middle of the sole, and the root is the back of the foot, or the back of the heel. I'm sorry. One of the primary functions of the toe is to realize and discharge any surplus energy that accumulates within the major chakras through our everyday activities and bodily functions. That's why they tell you to put your feet in grass, because you're discharging your energy into the ground, okay? This excess energy is channeled into the earth, facilitating a grouping of our consciousness. When the minor chakra is in the feet, operating harmoniously and are in alignment with the major chakras, it establishes a continuous connection and a flow of communication between the earth's energy grid and our own energy. Why is this important? Because in order for us to discharge our energy into the earth, that means we have to be wearing something that our energy is allowed to flow through. However, society and the elites have decided that we're going to have a rubber bottom shoe. Rubber, if you know from science class, does not conduct electricity. So rubber shoes actually disconnect you from the earth. Okay, so you're not able to discharge your energy, which you're supposed to be able to do daily. You staying in your home every single day and not going outside disconnects you from the earth. Okay, so the housing market, the white picket fence, the American dream, that also disconnects you from earth. Okay, so you have to, now that you know this, make a conscious decision to go out and do those things each day so that you can make sure that your energy is being properly balanced and discharged into the earth the way that it is meant to be. Okay. Root chakra corresponds with the earth element, as it is the most physical material chakra. This is why hell is hell, because when our mind operates off the root chakra, we desire our desires, fears, and lack of insecurity. In other words, we manifest hell. We are living in survival mode. Okay. So the heel is hell. Okay. The head is heaven. The three brains control the three sections of the body. Okay. The higher brain is the metaphorical brain, or the neocortex. Okay. Heaven, mind, mental. The earth or heart, emotional, soul, right? Soul brain is the mammal, or the soul emotional, the limbic brain. Okay. And then the heel, physical body, Satan. Reptilian brain is our fight or flight, or our basal ganglia. Okay. Notice how the landscape of the external world matches up with the chakra system. Lava is underground, which is red, and corresponds with the root chakra, or hell. The sky is blue and can turn purple at night, which syncs in with the higher three chakras. The earth is green and the heart chakra is green, as above, so below. Okay. Set and Horus are both representations of the sun, or we can say God. Ground, animal, ox, lower self is set when the sun sets. Okay. Horus, when the sun rises on the horizon, right? Air, animal, bird, higher self. Okay. So Set and Horus are the same people. It's just a matter of where the sun is in the sky, because Christianity is the worship of the sun. That's why Constantine changed the day of worship from the Sabbath, or seventh day, to the Sunday, which is Sunday. Okay. So Set, Horus, Ra, and Osiris are all the same things. They're just positions of the sun. Okay. Now, Jesus and the devil. Okay. The devil has ground animal features symbolizing the lower self. The angel has wings, which are bird features symbolizing the higher self. The elites in control have externalized this metaphysical concept to Jesus and Satan to make people look outside of themselves. This result is the lack of awareness of their own consciousness, which then creates a society operating their life out of the lower chakras. Please understand that people who are on this path of service to self, right? People who are trying to manipulate and bend people to their will to serve whatever purpose they want them to serve. Those people actually do not find the heart chakra to be useful. That means they never can have a connection with spirit, and they really only can evolve past to the 6th density. They can't really evolve past the 7th density, so they end up having to go back down and relearn everything that they have done and go down a different path. Okay. I talk about this when I talk about the 7 densities of consciousness. Again, I did an episode on my podcast if you guys want to learn more about that immediately. But I will be talking about it again. Okay. Head is heaven. So let's talk about that. Ice, or is a masculine fire, or soul, consciousness. Okay. L is God, consciousness, no ender. Okay. Left brain, right brain. It's like right in the middle. Ra is feminine, water, moon, mun, subconscious mind. Okay. Subconscious mind. Ra is right brain. Conscious mind, is left brain. L is in the middle. LOM is the combination of both. Okay. Right brain functions are art awareness, creativity, imagination, intuition, insight, holistic thought, music awareness, 3D forms, and left hand control. Okay. People who are more spiritual tend to be musically inclined. Okay. The reason being is that one, they might be a starseed. Starseeds actually come from the plane that music comes from. Okay. So the connection to music is usually always there for people who come from higher astral planes. Okay. Left brain function is analytical thought, logic, language, reasoning, science and math, written, numbers, skills. Okay. Right hand control. Okay. So right-handed people are more left brain. They in school try to force you into using your right hand. Okay. So mankind is God in flesh, macrocosm and the microcosm. 12 cranial nerves is the microcosm. The macrocosm is the 12 zodiacs. Okay. Because together they are the God mind. You may not understand that right now, but the zodiacs are your path to ascension. Okay. The chakra system are your path to ascension. Okay. All of it is connected and through syncretism. And we will talk about that. Okay. Because there is no difference between religion and science, really. Okay. It's just that religion has been used as a tool to that has been weaponized against us, and we have to find a way to navigate and unpack that. Okay. So in the Bible, the head is referred to as the upper room where Jesus met the 12 disciples. The 12 disciples are the 12 cranial nerves in the brain, which are the 12 zodiacs. Okay. So Moses crosses the Red Sea is moving from your perception awareness into the right hemisphere of the brain. The Red Sea is the corpus callosum, which connects the two hemispheres of the brain. The right hemisphere shows the united perception of reality. It is a place of your higher self. The right brain is the feminine aspect of your brain. It creates a holistic perception of reality where all things are united in oneness. It is also the place of our intuition, creativity, and insight. For example, this side of the brain viewing humans as one united consciousness. Okay. Your left brain hemisphere is the analytical side of your brain. It breaks down the united perception of the right hemisphere into singular segments. This is important as it gives us the ability to break things down and manipulate them. The left brain is the masculine side and is the place of the ego. The left brain sees humanity as individuals and not unified like the right brain. The left brain tries to separate you from the people around you. So it fuels comparison. It fuels judgment, right? Because those things separate you from other people. Sin in Latin, sinister, means left, right, equals righteous. Okay. So living in sin is living through your left brain. Okay. On the path of righteousness is right brain. Okay. That is it. That is all. You're not going to be punished for making mistakes, right? Now, there is a balance system in place. So any sins or mistakes that you make have to be compensated for, meaning like you need to hold yourself accountable for what it is that you have done. And as long as you do that, you can actually transcend the karma that's coming your way. But some people don't realize that because we live in a society full of narcissists who are leading us, which means that 9 times out of 10, if we're being led by something, we are looking up to whatever that something is, which means that we take on the qualities of that something. Okay. So you have to be able to hold yourself accountable because that's how you can transcend some of the karma that you create for yourself. Okay. Now the Ark of the Covenant, the two hemispheres of the brain is what the Ark of the Covenant is. Okay. So Spotify, radio, Apple Music, and all the major platforms are tuned into 440 hertz. 440 hertz shuts off the right side of the brain, resulting in being left brain dominant. They do not want you to be balanced or right brain dominant due to it being the creative, intuitive, and unified part of the brain. The Rockefeller Foundation in the 1950s changed the standard music tuning from 432 hertz, which is your heart chakra, to 444 hertz. This keeps you thinking logically instead of critically. Frequency is the only thing that enters your temple without consent, affecting you no matter what. This is why music is one of the most powerful tools, okay? Music is one of the most powerful tools because it does not need your consent to enter your brain, meaning your masculine principle is laying the fuck down at rest and your feminine principle or your subconscious mind is just taking that in. Okay. So you got to be careful what it is that you're listening to too. Okay. Now, people who actually care about this Chris Brown is a person who tunes his music to 432. But if you're listening to it on Spotify, Apple Music, or the radio, they probably retuned it. But Chris Brown, Janae Aiko, Bob Marley, are Erykah Badu, those are people who have changed the frequency of their music to match the heart chakra because they understand what the music industry is doing. Okay. This is to keep you thinking logically instead of critically. Frequency is the only thing that enters your brain. Instead, you want to listen to music or frequencies in 432 hertz, 528 hertz, 963 hertz, or any of the solfeggio scale frequencies. Okay. So 369, right? Solfeggio is a 369. Nikola Tesla talks about this a lot. Okay. Oops. If you add any of the solfeggio frequencies up, they will always add to 3, 6, or 9. Okay. Now, the Ark of the Covenant, there are 2 angles covering the covenant, which are the 2 hemispheres of the brain. The 2 angles are angels, covering, protecting the sacred center of the brain. The center of the brain is the most holiest house in the Bible. This place is the throne of God, or God consciousness, within the pineal gland. Now, God, or your higher self, is reaching, stretching over to try to connect with Adam, your lower self, and Adam is relaxed, showing no effort. This painting is showing us that you have to move up to your higher mind to reach your higher self. Your higher self is always speaking and giving commands, but the lower self dominates. All you have to do is follow the commands of the higher self. Okay, your higher mind, your higher thoughts. Okay, so that's what this picture is showing. You can see that he's literally in a fucking brain. Okay. So the head is heaven because it is the place of consciousness in the center of the brain. The pineal gland is the place of thy consciousness, and it has access to the astral plane. Okay, because your pineal gland is associated with your astral body. Okay, because you are not only physical, you are also a spiritual being. Okay, your left brain is masculine, it's your solar, and it's yang, concentration. Meditation, which is focus, is feminine and lunar, and it's yin. Okay, the feminine energy. All right. So this is a god, a Hindu god. So the ventral view of the brain seen underneath, shows the clear correspondence between Ganesh in the pons, medulla, and the cerebellum. The face of Ganesh corresponds to the pons. The medulla represents the trunk of Ganesh, and the roots of the trigeminal nerves represents the eye of Ganesh. A group of nerves at the pons represents the tusk of Ganesh. The cerebellum constitutes the ears of Ganesh. These structures not only look like Ganesh, but their function in human physiology corresponds to the function and activity ascribed to Ganesh. Okay. And here's other artwork that looks like the underside of the brain. Okay, head is heaven. Again, observer, or your inner being, is consciousness. That's why at the top of our dollar, we see that triangle with the eye in the middle. The triangle is actually the 3 states of consciousness, which are going to be how you think, your mind, how you feel, your emotions, and how you act, what you do with how you think and what you feel, right? And then the eye is in the middle, is the all-seeing eye. That's how we take in sensory information and we record it. Okay, so it's our observer, our inner consciousness. Okay, right side of the brain, left hemisphere of the brain. Observer, inner being, consciousness. Again, they're showing you this through here, through all of these pictures. Okay, so these are just pictures you can look at. The inner bird is thalamus, pineal gland, and your pituitary gland, which are the 3 wise men. Okay, the Holy Grail, back of your neck, right? Egyptian falcon of Horus, again, same thing. And then these are other symbologies. Okay. If you look at the symbols for the zodiacs or the planets, they are actually made up of the soul, the mind, and the body. The soul is represented as a circle with a dot. The mind, which is the moon, is like a half moon. And then the elemental part, the cross, is the body. Okay. Now, the eye of Horus, or the falcon, again, we talked about this. Horus is the sun, soul, soul. You are an internal sun or soul because you're a star in the body. You're an internal sun. Do you get it? The single eye is the symbol of the soul. eye of the soul, 5 senses of the soul. Okay. Because again, the 5 senses are how we navigate this physical reality. Okay. So the body does not live. It is only maintained by the spirit or consciousness within. Jesus said, man will never see death, for there is no death to see or know. Okay. Death is not real. They teach us that death is final because they want us to feel grief and block our heart chakra. Okay. The body manifests the spirit, that which we think of and will to do manifest the body to do so. Actions of the body are under the command of the centering soul. The body is an electric machine that takes commands from the omnipresent cosmic intelligence. That is why you need to eat whole foods. That is why it's important for you to take in vegetables and whole fruits, because though they grow from the ground, which means that they are electric. They are the only things that still have an aura while you eat them. Meat is dead. There is no aura. When somebody dies, their auric field is gone, right? It goes to another place. When you're eating a fruit that still has electricity in it, you become more electric, and you're strengthening your connection to spirit by doing so. Okay. So to think is to create. We create with light. Nothing is not light, meaning everything is light. The form is born in the image of the thinking. I alone exist. I am the all. Okay. We are born in the image of God, which means that God, in God mind, light is the way that God is expressed. We expressed in light as well through light codes. We receive light codes from the sun. Okay. That's why there's so much rigmarole going on with the sun. Okay. So man is the only unit of creation that is self-aware of the cosmic light within him. All else are electrically acting based upon instinct. Okay. Electricity is associated with the lower. Magnetism is associated with the higher. So symbol for spirit is the head, hence why the head is an oval circle. So K, skull, right? And then the Hebrew letters actually have a lot to do with this as well, because the Hebrew letters have a lot to do with astrology. It has a lot to do with ancient teachings. And there's gematria, which is numbers and letters, okay? Which is the language of the Saturnian people, which is secret societies. Okay. Next, we'll talk about the Merkaba. Now, the Merkaba is actually the double triangle. You see like a triangle at the top, and then there's a triangle at the bottom. Okay. The Merkaba is actually a vehicle that we use during astral projection that protects us. So the Mer equals light, the Ka equals spirit, the Ba equals body. So it's a celestial sphere to portray different planes of reality. It's our vehicle of ascension. Okay. So neutrality, the duality of self, by combining the upper and lower self, you are a soul that expresses different realities within the multiverse. In each plane, you take on different bodies. Your aim is to become a multidimensional creature and not to be born to just one reality. Okay. Now there are 4 veils: physical, etheric, astral, and mental. Okay. Devil, deveil. Okay, so the devil is actually the deveiling yourself into the lower planes of existence by ignorance of truth and knowledge. When you die under a false identity of self, you have now added another veil on top of your true soul self. Corinthians 3:16-17 says, 16, know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? 17, if any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. Psalms 82:6, I have said ye are God, and all of you are children of the Most High. Okay, the Bible is a great tool if you know how to use it. Okay, so left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Left hemisphere is going to be scientist, controls the right side of the body, language, place of the ego, logic, thinking, sequencing, facts, materialistic, letters, analytical, perceiving reality and usefulness, details. While the right side of the brain, which is feminine, is artist, controlling the left side of the body, creativity, holistic perception, unification, nonverbal cues, meaning you picking up on extrasensory information. You don't actually need people to verbalize things. You can just pick up on what is going on around you. Intuition, feelings, visualization, patterns, speechlessness, metaphors, symbols, accepting reality as it is in context. Okay. So both hemispheres participate and contribute to all activities. However, they do the activity in different ways. In other words, both brains carry out the same function, but function in two distinct and different ways. Both brains have separate views and perceptions of the world. The right brain presents reality as a unified whole, which explains why the people in power have split it up all the fields of knowledge into different categories when it is all actually one unified science. Okay. That's what this series is about. It's about the syncretism between all of it, right? Because the powers that be have split it all up into different sciences when it's all one fucking science, which is the true science, which is the science of spirit, which is spirit science, right? But if they divide it and we're living in this world of separation, we think that all these things are separate and they're not. So I'm going to help us connect the dots and figure out how to find the patterns amongst them. Okay. Now, all things come from the one, therefore all is one. This is why the Egyptians stated all is atom, meaning all is atom, or a torus field, for example. So the brain, we have atoms inside of our body, right? But we also have an electromagnetic field, which means that we are an atom, which means that Earth, which we live on top of, we are electrons on that atom, which means that the sun is the center of an atom, and all the planets, the 7 planets that we recognize, are the electrons and photons in that atom. Okay. So that is something I know I just said a whole bunch and you're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Don't worry. We will get there. But everything is atom. God is atom. Okay. Atom is the smallest molecule that we know about, and it vibrates. Okay. The vibration that's in it is life. It's the breath of life. Okay. So for example, the right brain would see a jungle as a unified entity, but the left brain would see the jungle as trees are being separate beings. The left brain's purpose is to analyze and break down the unified whole presented by the right brain. This process is done by the left hemisphere so that we can have distinct singular fragments of reality so that it can be manipulated, managed, and control it. Both hemispheres are needed for us to function within the creation. However, we must balance these two aspects of the brain so that we do not become left or right brain dominant. The right brain maintains a sense of detachment from the direct experience to exert control over it, while the right brain stays in the present moment and wholeheartedly experiences it. This is why people tell you need to stay in the present moment, because everything is happening in the now. When you're in that present moment, that's when you're able to access creativity because you are in the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay. The right brain relies on the left brain because its holistic perception, while capturing the essence of the whole, may lack precision and clarity. The left brain requires the right brain because although it produces mental clarity, it can lose sight of the connection between all things and trap the individual in a fragmented worldview. Okay. Now, John 21:6 says, cast the net on the right hand side of the boat and you will find fish. Move into the right hemisphere of the brain and you will find God, unification, and higher self. Mark 16:19 says, so then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he has received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. Right hand of God is the right hemisphere. Head is heaven, same root word, H-E-A. Okay. There's a reptilian brain, there's a limbic brain, and there's a neocortex brain. Okay. See that? This is the lowest brain, middle brain, highest brain. Okay. Reptilian is instinctual. It's about surviving. The limbic is emotional. Okay. It's about, again, we have to understand the information that we're receiving. The neocortex is about critical thinking. Okay. The mind. Neo from the Matrix woke up and started to use his higher mind, critical thinking mind, which is the neocortex. Okay. The Matrix is another great movie that talks about this because it talks about the Holy Trinity, right? Is them three working together. The Matrix is also a great thing because once you take the pill, once you wake up to this knowledge, you cannot go back. As much as you try to shove it down, you will put yourself into a place of pain and suffering because you know information and you're going against your intuition, you're going against yourself, you're going against your belief system. Okay. Now let's talk about the elements. Okay. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Okay. Those are the 5 elements. The base of all physical matter is the ether, okay? Also known as spirit or aether. It is a substance that is everywhere but nowhere at the same time. It has 1 foot in the physical world and in the astral plane. It is on either side. The word either comes from ether. Ether is infinite potential that constantly manifests and unmanifests itself cynically, meaning it works in cyclically, which means it works in a cycle. Okay. So the aether is the hidden energy that vibrates to create the physical world we see and know. We are like fishes in an ocean surrounded by an energetic field substance that we can see or touch. All things are feeding off the energy of the infinite aether. The four elements are the four vibrational states of aether, okay? None of the elements are pure. They're all composed of each other by transmutation. All of the elements are born from the first element, which is aether or spirit. The four physical elements are the four vibrational states of aether. Earth has the lowest vibration and fire is the quickest, okay? Each element shares one characteristic with the one next to it. Okay, so earth and water, fire and air, aether is in the middle. So earth is dry and cold, water is cold and wet, air is wet and hot, fire is hot and dry. Okay, now Plato's aspect, this is why we call these the Platonic elements, right? Because of Plato. Fire is sharpness, thinness, and movement. Earth is dullness, thickness, and rest. Air is thinness, movement, and dullness. Water is dullness, thickness, and movement. Okay. The female is water and earth, which are passive. Male is fire and air, which are active. Okay. Spirit is at the top. Fire is the light, your eyes. Air is your breath. Water is liquid. Earth is the bottom of your jaw. Okay. So the elements are always in this order because it starts with the densest earth. Then on top of the earth lies water. Then on top of the water is the air. And on top of the air is fire. Heat rises, right? Then on top of the fire is spirit. Okay. Boop. Okay. So next is to talk about flat earth or hearth. Heart is actually a synonym for earth. Earth is actually a synonym for heart. Which we'll kind of talk about when we kind of get into this. Okay. So, the Hearth Book is what I was talking about before. The Hearth Book actually explains these same concepts, but what it is that the guy who wrote the Hearth Book was actually studying Santos Bonacci, and what he was doing was taking notes on it, and he was like drawing and creating and like all this, like he's making diagrams and all this stuff while he's actually taking notes. And he actually published his notes in a 3-book concept, right? Called the Hearth Book. But Hearth, he takes the H and puts a dash, and you see heart and earth. If you take the H to the back of earth in the front, it's heart. Okay, so they're like related to each other. Okay, so the electromagnetic field, which is this that you see, is kind of like a donut. Okay. Not only does it go around us, it also Earth has one as well. Okay, so the electromagnetic field are responsible for all of creation. The zero plane of magnetic field is the birth of the physical matter. Okay, so this is the plane of inertia, which is Earth is on the plane of inertia. Our heart is at the plane of inertia. Okay, so matter is a result of two opposing forces equalizing on the plane of inertia or neutral point of the field. Okay, so we have spirit and matter neutralizing on the plane of inertia, which is our heart. Okay, which creates electromagnetic field. Okay, so the earth is the plane of inertia of its giant electromagnetic toroidal field. The plane of inertia is where we get the phrase planet earth from. Okay, now if you want to learn about this immediately, I talked about this in the very first episode of my podcast, season 1. Go listen to it if you want to. Now they are at the center of every electromagnetic field is magnetic white light. This is the most magnetic point within the field. At the center of the earth is the center of the earth's magnetic field. This is where all of the energy is being drawn back to and spat back out. This middle point of a torus field is called a hyperboloid. The sun, the moon, the stars, and planets are stirred by the rotating, reciprocating hyperboloid at the center of the Earth's magnetic field, the North Pole. This is what's making this motion of the daily cycle. Okay, so around the center is vibrating, and that's what you need to know. Okay, the hyperboloid is macrocosm and microcosm. It's the center of the Earth and the center of the body. The macrocosm is the center of the Earth. The microcosm is the center of our body, which is our heart. Okay, now the hyperboloids are an inversion of a sphere. The magnetic North Pole is the center of this field. The most magnetic point in the field there is where the ether is getting stirred and created the 4 elements from out of the counter space. The start is the stars, as they are the start of the solar system. Star equals start, stair equals stars. The stairway to heaven is the starway to heaven. Earth equals heart because it is the heart or the middle of the soul system. The earth is the middle of our solar system. So the 7 levels of heaven are the 7 planetary cosmic energies known as the 7 Elohim, which are the 7 layers of self. There are layers to the firmament, and each of the planets is on the layer. This explains why they all have different speeds of motion, and also explains why the ancients called the planets the 7 wandering stars. They're not fixed like the other stars. Okay. So the black sun, North Pole, Earth, sorry, not the black sun. This black circle is where North Pole would be. The green line would be the Earth. The white on the right side is the moon, and then, the sun. Energy is going back in at the bottom and going out at the top. Okay. So sun is electric and positively charged. It charges up and it's masculine. Moon is magnetic. It is negatively charged, making you go to sleep. It's feminine. Tropic of Cancer is the yellow line. The red line is the equator, and the Tropic of Cancer. So the sun is electric and positively charged. It charges you up and it's masculine. The moon is magnetic and is negatively charged, making you go to sleep. So it's feminine. So if you look at this picture of flat Earth here, you see the Tropic of Capricorn is the yellow. The equator, which is what the sun is kind of moving around, is red. And then the orange in the middle is the Tropic of Cancer. So the sun creates the 4 seasons by spinning inwards to the Tropic of Cancer, which is the summer for the northern lands. After this, it is Capricorn, which will then be further away from the northern lands, creating the season of winter. Okay. Now look at this picture at the bottom. On the left is Set, on the right is Horus. Okay. Set is when the sun sets. Horus is when the sun rises on the horizon. Okay. Here you see Horus and Set placing their feet inside of the dome. The pole they have rope attached to it is the magnetic North Pole, which they are both pulling, which symbolizes the spinning of the North Pole. Horus symbolizes the sun and Set symbolizes the moon, and they are being spun by the center pole, okay, which is the North Pole. Now, Hearth, or Earth, which is the heart, right? Because we know Earth is the plane of inertia for the planet Earth, whereas the heart is the plane of inertia for us on the microcosm. So Earth is an anagram for heart. Move the H to the beginning and Earth becomes heart. The heart is the middle of the body. Heart means middle. The Earth is the heart of the soul system. It is the balanced realm between good and evil. This is why we have dualism here, good and evil. Freemasons stand on the black and white checkered board, symbolizing duality, good and evil. It also symbolizes spirit, light, and matter, black. Yin and yang. Okay. They are standing in the realm of good and evil, hot and cold, day and night, etc. Spirit equals white, matter equals black. Hence, the cube of Saturn is always black, symbolizing the physical 3D world of matter. All things in the world are cube and have 6 sides. Go to Saturn pages below to learn more. Everything is made out of electromagnetic torus fields, which I'll talk about in that first episode of my podcast. It's an electromagnetic world. The Earth is the heart, meaning the middle. The middle of the electromagnetic color spectrum is green. Earth is green. And then above the Earth is the blue sky, because what comes after the heart chakra, the throat chakra, which is blue. Okay. The world we see around us is actually within us. When we astral project ourselves outside of the physical body, we are indeed leaving the physical plane we call Earth and entering to the astral plane. Heaven is above Earth through the blue skies. This corresponds with the 7 major chakras within us. In order to go to heaven through the blue skies, we go through the blue chakra to our head. Head and heaven are the same root word. Your head is heaven because it is the place of your consciousness or your true form, which is held in your pineal gland. Okay. So the sky is blue and it comes after green. Green equals heart or your center. Earth, nature is green, which is the heart of the color spectrum. Earth is balance point. That's why it's dualistic, good and bad. Okay. Your heart is your balance point. Okay. That's why all your negative emotions are anchored into your heart, but all your positive emotions are anchored into your heart as well, like love energy. Now, the solar system is a soul system. The solar system is macrocosm. The solar system is microcosm, meaning universe versus nature, universe versus man. Okay. So it's a soul system, not a solar system. Earth is the heart of the soul system, as it is in the middle of the system. The 7 planets come from the 7 colors of the electromagnetic color spectrum. Each planet gives off a certain frequency of light, which influences the mind until we outgrow matter and turn the spirit grow to a higher state of consciousness. Saturn is Satan, the Lord of the Rings. Okay. The Quran 65:12 says, Allah, it is he who created 7 heavens, and like them, the earth. Each planet has their layer of the firmament, which explains the various speeds of the celestial bodies during their cycle. Okay. So this is what we're talking about. Earth is in the very middle. Earth is the heart, right? And everything is kind of rotating around this. Now, a Persian miniature depicting 7th heaven is what this picture is. From the history of Mohammed, Bibliothèque Nationale de France, Paris. This just means the library, the National Library of Paris. Each planet has its layer of the solar system, which could be a whole other reality. The word planet has a plan within it, and plan means plane. It's a flat plane, just like Earth. Okay, Earth is on a flat plane.
What?
I know y'all don't want to believe that. I know y'all don't want to believe that, but we gonna prove it. Okay. So here is some Freemasonry cosmology. So Genesis 1:3 says, let there be light. Everything is made out of light. The universe is created out of light waves. The torus field is 1 unit of light. The light projecting this reality is Polaris, symbolized as the famous LL seeing eye, with light being projected around it. Okay, that's what you're seeing here. Genesis 1:16. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. In other words, God created the sun and the moon. The moon emits its own light source. It is not reflecting the sun's light. The sun is electric or male. The moon is magnetic or female. Okay, that's the sun. That's the moon. Genesis 1:6. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the water, and let's divide the waters from the waters. The firmament is symbolized by the Masonic royal arc. The firmament is called heaven. Heaven has the word even within it. Even equals balance. The firmament is the even point between the world and the world below and the world above. Okay, so this, the arc, firmament. You have to balance all aspects of life, balance the 2 hemispheres of the brain, balance the chakras, and you have to go to heaven, head, higher mind, higher self. Okay. Balancing the zodiacs as well is another way to do that. Now, there's 7 stars. These stars symbolize the 7 planets, also known as the 7 wanderers or the 7 layers of heaven: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Okay. Those are also called the 7 heavenly bodies. Each planet has its own layer of the firmament. Okay. Planet equals plan equals plane. Okay. So these are the 7 stars. 5-pointed star. This symbol is called a pentacle. It is a 5-pointed star that symbolizes the elements within the creation. Spirit on the top point because it is the most important element. Spirit is also aether. Aether is the base of all the physical matter. Aether is a substance that connects the physical world to the spiritual world, or the astral. Astral just means star. It also symbolizes the senses, which are the 5 ways the body reports electrical impulses back to the pineal gland to decode the external world. Okay, you see that here. The stairs, 6 stairs. The 7th is the earth ground. Altogether, those 7 steps, there are 7 steps we have to take up to reach our higher self, which is the 7 chakras. Each chakra is one of the 7 planets. Each chakra is ruled by one of the 7 planets, but it's also the 7 densities of consciousness as well. Okay. And the earth we have spread out like a carpet, set thereon to the mountain, firm and immovable, and produce therein all kinds of things in due balance. Quran 71:19. And Allah has made the earth for you as a carpet spread out. 65:12. It is Allah who has created 7 heavens, and on earth the like therefore. Okay, those are just another examples of that. Now we'll go to Isaiah 40:22. He sits enthroned above the circle of earth, and it is the people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Okay. Genesis 1:4. God made the firmament and divided the water which were under the firmament from the water which were above the firmament, and it was so. The boat on the water symbolizes the ethereal world beyond the world. If you look at the stars with a telescope, you can see them twinkle as if it is light shining through water. The stars are light shining through the aether above. Okay, so that's the boat right there. Checkerboard, which is the four. We see that a lot with them. The black and white checkered symbolizes all dualities within these dualistic realities: spirit, light, and matter, which is black. Rest and motion, positive and negative. Earth is an anagram for the heart. Heart is the middle of things, such as the body. For example, the heart is the balance point between two opposing poles. Earth is the world between heaven and hell. Heaven being the higher worlds beyond this, hell being the world below. Okay. It's a state of mind, though. It's a frequency of mind. Okay. So the lighter something is, the higher it rises. It is the same within the journey of the soul. The more materialistic the soul gets, the lower the world it falls due to the heavy attachments to the mind, greed, envy, lust, and the other 7 deadly sins are internal states that make your soul more heavy and bound to the earth and body. You must quell all the chaos of the emotions and detach from the external world to become lighter and at peace with all. Then and only then shall you pass upwards to the light. The word reality is similar to realize. Your level of realization is the level of reality. You can only experience one reality at a time. Okay. So that means that if you're focusing on the negative, you're going to live a reality that is focused around negativity. If you're focused on the positive, you're going to live a reality that's focused around the positive. Okay. And there's certain things that you cannot do and have a positive experience, and vice versa. Okay. Chronicles 16:30, tremble before him, all the earth, the world is firmly established. It cannot be moved. Okay. The world is immovable. Okay. Psalms 104:5, he set the earth on its foundation. It can never be moved. Revelation 7:1, after this is saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or on any tree. Genesis 1:14, and God said, let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. The phrase let them be for signs is talking about the zodiacs. The stars are signs. That's what is to come. Firmament comes from the Latin word firmums, meaning firm. The firmament is a firm arch sky fault. Notice his head is peeking through the ethereal barrier of the earth. The head is the place of consciousness, and it has the ability to see the other worlds. This is why his head is in heaven. You see that? So you can actually experience heaven when you're here on earth. You just have to enter in this state of bliss. You have to balance the chakra system. You have to balance the zodiac. You have to balance the 7 planets within. You have to learn to do what you should be doing opposed to what you want to do based on the physicality of this world, based on your physical senses and what you have experienced. Okay. Okay. So elements again, in the elements symbols, fire is an upright triangle. Okay. Because it's the highest. Air is upright with a line through it. Earth is pointing downwards again because it's feminine with a line through it. And then water is just the triangle pointing down. Okay. Sun, moon, black sun. Okay. You see that with earth, black sun is at the bottom. The sun is here and the earth is here. This is actually the symbol for Freemasonry. See that? That's their compass. Yin and yang. The sun and the moon, yin and yang, as above, so below. Okay, so right here we have the center, we have the solar, which is the sun, the lunar, and then the black sun. And the black sun actually comes up through the North Pole, which is at the center of the earth. And that's why you see the northern lights. Okay, it's actually shaped like an eyeball. Yeah, as above, so below. Heaven of heaven, ocean of heaven, firmament with the stars, earth, and then the underworld. Okay, also a belly when you're pregnant. Island equals island. Planet equals plane. So if we're on a planet, we're on a plane. Okay, a plane is straight across. Okay, here are ancient pictures of what they considered Earth to be like. The ancients said we live in Guard, which is a balanced realm containing both good and evil. This could be why Earth is an anagram for the heart, as it would be the system's heart. For thousands of years, people believed in heaven and hell, which could be the realms above and below us. Okay. Hebrews, Tibetans, Chinese, Islam. These are all ancient photos. Okay. Alchemical symbol of the earth is a circle that's divided into 4 quadrants, which are to represent the 4 seasons. Okay. 1500 and 1600s North Pole map. Look at that. North Pole is in the center. These are the lands around. That looks very different from the map that we see, but we know that the maps have been redone several times, and now it seems like everything is far away from each other. And honestly, I don't think that that's the case. United Nations logo. Look at that. Flat Earth. This is a flat Earth map. Okay. Hitler using 2 flat Earth maps. This is Adolf Hitler flat Earth maps are what he's using. Okay. Hitler actually, what we know about Hitler is not all the way true. We have to do our research on him, because after he was gone, and I'm not even going to express my feelings about that. After he was gone, they actually hired a bunch of his followers and a bunch of his team into our government, because they knew a lot about consciousness. They knew a lot about esoteric knowledge. They knew a lot about the world that we did not know in the Western world. Okay. So this is the compass, the Polaris symbol. Polaris is the 8-pointed star because we are inside the world of space and time. There are 8 points of space and time. Polaris is the center and the highest star. We symbolize this today with the star on top of the Christmas tree. The compass is the 8-pointed star because it points you to the 8-point star, the center of the earth. Okay, so a compass, when you're actually using it, is pointing you towards the north because the North Pole is magnetic. Okay, so that compass is moving towards wherever north is. Okay. Stars with no light pollution. Egyptian sky god Nut. Freemason royal ark. Okay, Mayan cosmos. Hebrew cosmos. The Egyptian sky god Nut is symbolizing the star ceiling above our head. This is what then later turned into the royal ark in Freemasonry. Okay, so Bible, Genesis 1:6-8. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Bible, Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and a molten looking glass? Quran 65:12. Allah, it is he who created 7 heavens, and like them the earth. The 7 heavens are the 7 layers of the firmament. Okay, we can see those here, which house the 7 different planets. Alrighty, that is it, guys.
2,000 years later.
That is the Book of Wisdom. That is what we're going to be trying to prove to ourselves. All right. I know it's a lot of information. I know I went over a lot of things. I think I already have the first book that we're going to start with. But I think what I want to first do is go all the way back, because when I started this journey, I actually first heard this information from Embodiment Celestial. And I would say it's probably like 1.5 years ago. And then I bought his book, and I actually started studying his book and started trying to figure out some of these things. And then I figured out that he was actually working with this guy. The actual book itself was written by this guy, Be Divine by Divine. And so I found him on TikTok, and he's the guy who has like all the symbols over his face and tattoos. So I started actually listening to him, and he was like, oh, I got a lot of this information from Santos Bonacci. That's who I was studying. So then I started studying Santos Bonacci on YouTube, and Santos Bonacci does not gatekeep anything, baby. He gives you all the books of where to find it. He gives you diagrams. He actually has a website where you can go to called the Universal Truth School. He has all this stuff that is trying to help people find this information because he has been studying it for 30 years. He's actually an Australian guy. So as I'm studying him, I realized that he gets a lot of his philosophy and ideologies from Ptolemy, from Manly P. Hall, from Boyd Kuhn, which is another occultist, right? And basically, he's been studying these guys for 3 years, and he's able to synchronize everything and find the patterns and everything. Like, these guys have been saying it for years, and some of the people that he studied have actually been killed for giving this information. So Of course, it was back in the day or whatever. There was a guy, they put a pike through his head and through his tongue, and it was a whole fucking situation, right? So what I did is I actually just listened to him, and I actually found a starting point. So I want to talk about Ptolemy first, and what he was saying, and then I want to work up from the other occultists that came after him. So if y'all stay to the end, I love y'all. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. We're going to start diving into the deep stuff, trying to unpack this, trying to understand where they're getting this information from in order to help us to expand our consciousness and expand our intellectual level, expand our horizons, and also go on this path of ascension where we reach our higher self so that we can stop being trapped in this soul trap. Okay. So I love y'all deep, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.